Chapter 705. Ishida Hikaru looked at his own body blankly. He was still standing there, and the katana in his hand was still releasing its skill, just that it had not been released yet. Where is this? Why am I seeing my own body? Why am I seeing my own head? Other than Yi Hua, everyone else looked at this scene in a daze. Ishida Hikaru's head could be seen hanging on Death Mage's death scythe. In that instant just now, Death Mage raised his speed to the extreme, intending to shock Death Mage right from the start. It must be said that Death Mage has a brain now. This is what the so-called shock looks like. Death Mage took out his phone again and typed on it, then placed it on the screen. Weak chicken. Ishida Hikaru looked at his own body falling down, but his mind was still clear. This kind of situation is inexplicable, and he is terrified to the extreme. Only now did Ishida Hikaru realize that he was about to die, and with unwillingness, he breathed his last breath. Nice. Too nice. I still want to watch. Kai-yun immediately shouted out his inner thoughts. As a member of a different race, he definitely had a favorable impression towards Death Mage, who was also a different race. Also, that killing method of Death Mage, it was simply too cool. Just what race is this black robe from? That kind of high-speed movement just now, I actually couldn't feel it at all. This mysterious East is indeed very scary. Luckily, I listened to my subordinate's words and didn't come over. If I had come across this black robe, I would definitely have died. Miyamoto Nagata was very angry, but he was not stupid. This black robe instantly killed Ishida Hikaru. This strength is already very scary, and I am not his opponent at all. Thus, Miyamoto Nagata squeezed out a smile and said respectfully, Flag Master, sorry for disturbing your mood. My subordinate did not bring any joy to Flag Master. The heart of the fatty Nakata Senda, who was standing at the back, sunk. I didn't expect that Miyamoto-sama would actually try to curry favor with Flag Master this much. Ishida Hikaru's death was actually just to bring joy to the Flag Master, and he even apologized for it. Miyamoto-sama, back then when you sat on this position, us brothers had helped you a lot. Kai-yun waved his hand, not putting Miyamoto Nagata in his eyes at all. It's fine, I am very happy. After all, you guys are too weak. Miyamoto Nagata. Kai-yun learned quite quickly and immediately used the word, weak chicken. Death Mage was still standing below the stage, waiting for his opponent to come onto the stage. As his honor's subordinate, I must definitely help his honor regain some face. Yi Hua hugged onto Donghuang Baiji and began showing off his woman. Soon after, Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Donghuang Baiji had no other choice. Her husband liked to do this, and as long as she cooperated with him, it would be fine. Therefore, Donghuang Baiji snuggled into her husband's embrace shyly. This shyness was not an act. She was indeed a little embarrassed. Smoking a cigarette and hugging the most beautiful woman in the world, what a joy. Yi Hua said faintly, the performance still has to continue, why don't we call for a slightly stronger person? There's no point in watching an instant kill. That's right. We have to be strong against strong. I like to be strong. Kai-yun echoed. Yi Hua almost choked on the smoke that he was smoking. My opponent's IQ is not on the same channel as mine, it is really F***king hard to communicate with. Which one of you will go and perform for me? Kai-yun looked at Lucifer and Shotai Miyamoto and asked. Following Kai-yun's words, Lucifer and Miyamoto Nagatake's expressions changed drastically. The black-robed man below was so terrifying. He was no match for him at all. Miyamoto Nagatake hurriedly said, Flag Master, my strength is limited, and I am unable to give Flag Master a pleasant feeling. Why don't we just let him go on stage? Miyamoto Nagatake kicked the ball to Lucifer, and this caused Lucifer to almost go berserk. What a shameless man. Kai-yun pouted his mouth. To think that you can say such weak words, why did I call for you? Flag. Before Miyamoto Nagatake could finish speaking, he felt a chill on his neck. Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji's brows became wrinkled. Those 5 people did not make any movements just now, and the one who made a move was definitely that White Bones. Indeed, just like what Li Hun said, this White Bones is very strange. Yi Hua sent a voice transmission to Lai Gu and asked, Did you feel anything? Reporting to your honor, I did not feel any movements from Bai Gu. Lai Gu also became calm. This White Bones is indeed ghostly. Yi Zizi said lightly, Your honor, Zizi did not feel anything either. Hearing what his 2 subordinates said, Yi Hua let them go. Luckily, it's not that I can't feel anything, I can't feel anything. Yi Hua became slightly more balanced. Miyamoto Nagatake touched his neck and looked at Kai-yun, who was grinning happily. That expression of his seemed to be asking, Why did you suddenly want to kill me? I wanted to join you all. However, Kai-yun didn't want weak chickens at all. In her eyes, weak chickens should all die, and it would be a waste of food to keep them alive. Blood flowed out from Kaiyun's neck. It was very scary. Nakata Yasuda, who was standing at the back, didn't dare to move. He didn't even know what happened just now. Miyamoto Nagatake's head fell onto the table from his neck, causing the food on the table to overturn. Because Miyamoto Nagatake was in a kneeling position, his body didn't fall onto the ground, and it seemed as if he wasn't dead yet. Yihua, this flag master is trying to show us her strength, Donghuang Baiji said lightly. Yihua nodded his head. He understood very well why Kaiyun did this. I feel that I have underestimated her a bit. Her Chinibu seems to be faking, her brain is still very normal and she knows how to use this kind of method to scare me. But do you think that I am scared? Right now, Lucifer was already stupefied, and he even felt that he was going to die soon. Meyer, who was standing at the back, also had the same feeling, and he felt as if he was going to see a blood stain appearing on Lord Lucifer's neck. Such a thing won't happen. Kaiyun only wanted to kill someone to scare Yihua. After all, Yihua had just killed someone right before her eyes, and this was a blatant provocation. As the flag master, how could she allow such a thing to happen? The performance continues. White Bones, you go up. Kaiyun shouted while beaming. White Bones' voice rang out from the air, yes. Lucifer let out a breath of relief. I knew that this meal wouldn't be delicious. Even if I don't get killed, I will be scared to death. Nakata Yasuda's mood was the same as well, to the point that he didn't even dare to move recklessly, fearing that the flag master would kill him if she were to become unhappy. However, when he heard that White Bones was going to fight against the Black Robe, Nakata Yasuda was also very curious. Just who would win? Right now, Lucifer was also curious. That White Bones movement technique is too strange. I wonder how many rounds this skeleton can last. As for Yihua, he continued to smoke his cigarette while hugging onto the beauty, and he seemed to be very at ease. That White Bones is indeed strange, but in the end, it is only strange. If it wants to kill someone, it has to come into contact with the other party. What if the other party has absolute defense? If that is the case, the existence of the White Bones would be meaningless. Although I, the Supreme Overlord, have no way to deal with you right now, I have a way to get rid of your injuries. Chapter 706. Furthermore, the script was playing out according to my plan. Death Mage being the first to appear was also arranged by me. He predicted that they would let White Bones go up first, so he gave Death Mage an armor. The name was simple. That was absolute defense. However, what Yihua was worried about right now was whether or not this absolute defense would be able to defend against White Bones' attack. Because Yihua knew that there were no absolutes in this world. Just like this set of armor, in front of Yihua's main body, it was still like a piece of white paper, unable to withstand a single blow. So now it was time to see how strong White Bone was, or rather, how strong its strength was. Could it destroy absolute defense? If it could, then I can only rely on Lai Gu and Yi Zizi to regain back my face. Actually, in Yihua's heart, it would be the best result for this battle to end in a draw. After all, he had yet to find the White Bone's weak point, and the probability of killing it was too low. Yihua lightly let out a mouthful of smoke and said faintly, "This person is my subordinate. You all have to be careful when dealing with him." Subordinate? Lucifer was shocked. If his subordinate was already so powerful, then how powerful was his subordinate? How powerful was he himself? This damned East. Why are there so many monsters in the East? This is completely unfair. Did their strength come out from their mother's womb? Kaiyun was slightly surprised as well. Ah, then wouldn't you be even more powerful? Of course. Yihua said lightly. After I finished speaking, I felt that something was wrong. Why did I pay attention to a little brat's words? I was led astray by her. *CKME. Shall we perform it later? Kaiyun's eyes shone with the light of excitement, and he was even trembling slightly. This was the excitement of an expert meeting another expert. Yihua could feel the flag master's excitement, but she didn't say anything. This was normal behavior. Yihua said indifferently, "Beat up my subordinates first." All right. White Bones, you have to do your best. And little brother Skeleton, you have to do your best too. Kaiyun shouted at the two below. Today was simply too fun. This Baigu even said that Voidless Realm is very weak. Voidless Realm is clearly very strong, okay? Yet he actually lied to me. Death Mage was holding on to the death scythe. There wasn't any expression on his skeletal face. Even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be able to. Death Mage was also trying to sense the location of the White Bones, but it was a pity that he was unable to find anything. This is the strangest opponent that I have ever met. It is no wonder that the white bones were able to escape from his honor's hands. As expected, the white bones are very powerful. Death Mage did not dare to be careless. It made a jjj sound. Top defense boost. Advanced speed boost. Increase bone hardness. All kinds of top-notch defensive enhancements. Instantly. Death Mage's body emitted out a multicolored radiance, strengthening his defense to the extreme. Looking at Death Mage's expression, Kai Yun said in a low voice, "Very smart." Yu Hua caressed Kai Yun's beautiful hair and said softly, "They are very strong. The two people standing behind them are even stronger than this skeleton." I think so too. Wild Sand, let's see what their true forms are, Kai Yun asked curiously. The scarecrow that was sitting at the side took a look at Yi Zizi and Lai Gu, and its pair of eyeballs that were hanging on the straw couldn't help but make people's scalp go numb. Flagmaster, that man was transformed from a bone dragon, and he is one of the more commonly seen undead race. As for that ponytail girl, her original body is a bit special. Quang Sha said gravely. Kai Yun went into a slight daze. To be able to make Quang Sha say these words, her background definitely isn't small. What do you mean? Kai Yun continued to ask. Quang Sha said gravely, Flagmaster, do you still remember a powerful race that was recorded in the records? Kai Yun's gaze became serious. Quang Sha, are you talking about the Taotai race? The Taotai race is born with a powerful innate skill of devouring, and they are able to transform the enemy's strength into a part of themselves. The Taotai race was also the most glorious race back then. Quang Sha said slowly. However, they had only heard of the Taotai race and had never come into contact with them. Because, when they were mingling around, the Taotai race had already disappeared long ago, and only terrifying legends were left behind. Kai Yun muttered, I didn't expect that I would come across the Taotai race here today, and furthermore, I am appearing as someone else's subordinate. This is too interesting. Yu Hua said vigilantly, Flagmaster, the scariest thing about the Taotai race is that they release their original body to fight. You cannot underestimate them. I understand. Kai Yun naturally understood, but he also wanted to see just how violent the Taotai race's original body was. Back then, when Yi Hua was fighting against Yi Zizi didn't even release her original body. To be more precise, she was preparing to release her original body, but was controlled by Yi Hua. In actuality, Yi Hua still didn't know that right now, Yi Zizi hadn't reached her peak state at all, and could only be considered as a little fellow. If Yi Zizi were to reach the peak state of the Taotai race, it would really make the entire world tremble. The strength of the Taotai race was unquestionable. Wei Chang and Zhu Tian's races were also rather rare, and of course there were the other two 7 deadly sins. Within the entire 7 deadly sins, only Brett could be considered as a person. What race is that man? Kai Yun asked curiously. Quang Sha said respectfully, that man is just an undead. I'm a little disappointed. Kai Yun spread out his hands helplessly. I thought that Yi Hua was a powerful race, but it turns out that he is just an undead. There's no helping it, undead are too common. What about that woman? Kai Yun looked towards Donghuang Baiji. Quang Sha paused for a moment, then said, that woman has a special scent, she seems to be the same as those people who sealed us. Oh? Did this woman have such a relationship? Things have become interesting. Kai Yun's heart was trembling. Wonderful. He needed these powerful opponents. This subordinate doesn't dare to be certain, Quang Sha added. Because Donghuang Baiji's body was no longer pure. Because Donghuang Baiji's child, Donghuang Baiji's bloodline had been tainted by Yi Hua's bloodline. Thus, the aura within Donghuang Baiji's body would become a lot more mixed up, and Donghuang Baiji's body would no longer be that pure. Although it wasn't pure, the benefits it brought were much stronger than pure ones. Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji could sense that these people were sizing them up, and they seemed to be communicating with each other through sound transmission. At this moment, Yi Hua sent a sound transmission to Yi Zizi. Let's see what their true forms are. Yes, Your Honor. Yi Zizi's scarlet eyes looked towards the 5 people. He got what he wanted in an instant. But, he didn't know what to call it, so he could only summarize it. Your Honor, that woman is the same as the video, she has a lot of water in her body. Yi Zizi said. Yi Hua nodded his head, and his gaze drifted towards Yu Hua. A woman with a lot of water, I wonder if I can burn her with fire or not. If it was ordinary water, it would definitely work. Chapter 707. Hearing Yi Zizi's expression, Yi Hua paused for a moment, then lowered his head and looked at Donghuang Baiji who was in his embrace. Looking at her husband's astonished expression, Dong Huang Baiji was a bit puzzled. What does he mean? Just what kind of creature is that? Yihua asked gravely. Yi Zizi expressed that she wasn't sure. In any case, it is the kind that has a lot of water. Yihua gave up on asking, next. Your Honor, that Luo Ho who is holding a fan is a light. Yi Zizi didn't know how to describe it, it was the kind of bright light. Light? Yihua was a bit surprised. These people are all elementals, no wonder I can't kill them, they are indeed powerful. Continue. That ugly one is a lump of fire. Yi Zizi said. Hearing Yi Zizi's words, Yihua confirmed his guess. As expected, they are all elementals. I have never seen such a race before, they are indeed powerful. What is that scarecrow? Yihua asked. A lump of black, I don't know what it is. A lump of black? Yihua was a bit puzzled. Is this something that belongs to darkness? Then what is this flag master? Yihua asked again. It only has one eye. Yi Zizi was a bit astonished. The flag master's original body and its current appearance formed a clear contrast. It actually only has one eye, it looks very scary. Yihua asked gravely, is there no other body part? Nope, it is just a huge eye. Yi Zizi said in a low voice. This kind of body is even more frightening than Wei Chang. Yihua didn't ask anything else and entered into deep thoughts. This was also why the 5 flags sealed the flag master. The flag master wasn't an elemental life form, but they were. The reason why the 5 flags sealed the flag master was to protect the flag master, and no matter what they did, they couldn't die. Thus, they could only be sealed and wait for the right time to summon the flag master out. Seems like Nan Wuxi got into big trouble back then, otherwise he wouldn't have done such a thing. Yihua looked towards Death Mage. I hope that Death Mage won't embarrass me today. If I can fight to a draw, I will be rewarded. If I can kill the white bones, that would be the best, but the hope is very slim. Death Mage, who had all sorts of defenses, sensed the airflow in the surroundings, hoping to find the location of the white bones. This idea is indeed good, but the white bones is like air, it can control the airflow. Suddenly, Death Mage felt that there was movement in the 9 o'clock direction. Without thinking too much, he held onto the death scythe in his hand and slashed towards it. Boom. A huge crater was created on the hard ground by the death scythe, and a red light flashed past Death Mage's empty eyes. I've been tricked. In an instant, Death Mage stretched out his bony hand towards his back. Spreading out his 5 eerie white fingers, a black shield instantly appeared. Bang! A huge force slammed into the shield, setting off a violent shockwave. Cracks could be seen appearing on the surface of the black barrier, and the cracks looked just like glass, causing Death Mage to be startled in his heart. The other party was indeed very powerful. At the instant when Death Mage was absent-minded, a powerful pressure came from the other side. Looking at this time, Yihua's expression sunk. This white bones attack is really strange and ever-changing. It was obviously attacking on the shield, but in the blink of an eye, it would appear on the other side. This is not the benefit brought by speed, this is the advantage of race. Death Mage also knew the consequences of being hit, so he did not think too much about it. Absolute defense. In an instant, a set of pitch-black armor condensed on top of the Death Mage's white bones, covering 100% of the Death Mage's body. There was also a red cloak on his back, and together with the death scythe in his hands, he looked extremely cool. Bang! Although Death Mage had summoned out absolute defense, the punch of the white bones still landed onto the left side of Death Mage's abdomen. The huge impact caused Death Mage to be sent flying away like a cannonball. Luo Ho, who was sitting behind Kai Yin, suddenly opened his folding fan, and a golden halo enveloped the entire South Wuxi flag. Meanwhile, Death Mage, who was sent flying away, fiercely crashed onto the golden halo, and the golden halo slightly trembled for a bit. The reason why Luo Ho did this was to not let Death Mage fly too far away, if not, the Flag Master wouldn't be able to enjoy the wonderful battle. Death Mage's body could be seen directly falling onto the ground, smashing out a deep hole on the ground. Right now, Death Mage still had a lingering fear in his heart. Just a moment ago I was almost done for. My defense was completely useless. If not for the absolute defense that his honor gave me, I would have directly lost my life. Death Mage can still be summoned by his honor, but losing face for his honor is not allowed. Death Mage, who was lying on the ground, suddenly stood up, then slightly lowered his head and took a look at the left side of his abdomen. A small dent actually appeared on the black absolute defense. How is this possible? A dent actually appeared on the item that his honor took out. This strength is too terrifying. Yihua also saw that inconspicuous dent, and his brows slightly wrinkled. This white bone's strength is truly not bad, to actually be able to make an inconspicuous dent on absolute defense. However, at this moment, Kaiyun was also very surprised. This set of armor is pretty good, it has already reached the level of Great Desolate Era. Kaiyun said with a smile. Yu Hua said tenderly, that's right, but what this white bone specializes in isn't strength, it is a bit of a pity. Kaiyun nodded his head. The advantage that the white bone race had was indeed very strong, and it made people's hearts turn cold. However, at the same time, the white bone race was a bit weak in another aspect, and that was strength. The reason why the white bone race was at the bottom of the Five Flags battle team was because the white bone race's strength was much weaker than the white bone race. If it was Luo Ho's attack just now, the result would definitely be different. After all, the white bone race had such an abnormally strong advantage. If the white bone race's strength was abnormally strong as well, who would be a match for the white bone race? Death Mage was very angry right now. Although he didn't have the time to pay attention to his honor's expression, he was able to guess that his honor's expression should be very unhappy. After all, he had already fallen into a disadvantageous position. Compared to Death Mage, the white bone race seemed to be even more surprised right now. My attack only left a small mark on that set of armor. How is this possible? What kind of armor is this? Its defensive ability is completely restraining me. This situation is very bad. Big Brother Skeleton, this set of armor is not bad, did you give it to me? Bai Yun asked Yi Hua with a joyous look on his face. Yi Hua's gaze looked at the stage and said faintly, they are all trash, take them out and use them. Kai Yun, can you not act cool? You are still quite handsome when you are not acting cool, humph, Kai Yun snorted. When I came out to act cool, who knows where you were? Donghuang Baiji agreed with what Kai Yun said. When Yi Hua is not acting cool, he is still quite handsome, but when he is acting cool, I feel a bit weird. Hearing that, Yi Hua snorted coldly and did not pay any attention to this brat. What a waste of my saliva. Chapter 708. Right now, Lucifer had completely become a passerby. In Europe, he was a boss existence, and everyone who saw him would have to address him respectfully. However, sitting here, Lucifer didn't feel good at all. He was completely ignored, and he even felt that he was too small. Just a sneeze from the opponent would make him tremble with fear for a long time. Nakata Genta's entire body stiffened. The reason why he was still able to stand was because he couldn't feel his legs anymore. He felt that he was definitely going to die. If it was me, I would have already died. This voidless realm is indeed formidable, even an underling's underling is so arrogant. On the battlefield, Death Mage raised up his death scythe. Death Mage didn't look like a master mage, instead he looked like a fearless warrior. GGG, Imperial Translation. Absolute Domain. Death Mage had no other choice but to release his absolute domain to defend against the enemy. Death Mage had no other choice but to release his absolute domain to defend against the enemy. Within the absolute domain, Death Mage was like a god and he was able to perceive everything. Although absolute domain was very powerful, absolute domain wasn't a vacuum, there was still air within it. If that was the case, the white bones would still be able to survive. Death Mage released his absolute domain and immediately began searching for the location of the white bones. However, what made Death Mage exclaim in surprise was that he was still unable to find the white bones. This absolute domain can't be fake, right? Darkness protection. Death Mage shouted, and a layer of protection gradually fused with the armor, greatly increasing the defense of the armor. Darkness barrier. Death Mage continued using his defensive technique and enveloped his body within the barrier. Death Mage's actions had already made it clear that he was planning to use his defense to defend against the white bones. Because there was no way for him to attack the white bones, and right now the white bones also had no way to attack him. Just like what his honor said, as long as the battle ends in a draw, it would be my victory. After all, the white bones is an underling's underling, and the white bones is one of the 5 flags. If the battle ends in a draw, it would be our loss. The white bones silently scolded Death Mage for being shameless. To actually calculate that I am weak and strengthen my defense. Ha! The white bones shouted out angrily and attacked again. There was still no spiritual energy fluctuation. Death Mage seemed to have given up on searching and just stood at his original spot. Death Mage could see that his darkness barrier had already been broken through, but it had also reduced quite a bit of the white bone's power. When the white bone's fist came into contact with his darkness barrier, it was more or less like scratching an itch. Death Mage even stood at his original spot and withstood the white bone's barrier. One must know that the absolute domain was also weakening the white bone's power, and adding Death Mage's various defenses, the White Bones' weakness had already been displayed to the extreme. Following the destruction of the Dark Barrier, Death Mage condensed another barrier. After that, White Bones could be seen attacking with all its might. However, all of its attacks were in vain. It was no longer able to send Death Mage flying, and it was also unable to leave any marks on absolute defense. So, there was only one reason why White Bones was at the bottom. When it encountered someone with an extremely strong defense, White Bones couldn't do anything, and the opponent couldn't do anything to it either, so it could only be in a stalemate. On the other hand, White Bones' role in the team was mostly to scout and display White Bones' strength. The battle was basically done by others. Looking at the situation on the battlefield, Yi Hua could be considered to be slightly relieved. For Death Mage to be able to do this much, it is already very good. Now, it all depends on whether or not Death Mage is able to find the weak point of the White Bones. That's right, other than making Death Mage fight to a draw, Yi Hua had an even more important task. That was to look for White Bones' weakness during the battle. Right now, Death Mage was also carrying out a mission. Death Mage did not have to worry about getting injured, so he could calmly evaluate White Bones. Look for weaknesses in each of its attacks. Suddenly, Death Mage seemed to have thought of something. GGG, Imperial Translation, Space Seal. An unknown black substance suddenly emerged from the four corners of Death Mage's surroundings, and it actually formed into a black rectangular box, enveloping Death Mage within it. Death Mage stood inside the box and quietly waited for White Bones' attack. However, after waiting for quite a while, White Bones still didn't attack. Space Seal inside the box was a vacuum environment, there was no air. However, if there was no air, how was Death Mage going to breathe? Does an undead need to breathe? White Bones looked down at the huge black box and felt that there was no air inside the box, so it could only stare blankly. It was a pity that Death Mage's ability was limited. If he were to expand the radius of the Space Seal, that would be the time of death for White Bones. Who said that elemental races were unkillable? It was just that they didn't find a way to kill them. In this world, there is no race that cannot be killed, there are only strong individuals that cannot be killed. Yi Hua seemed to have seen through something as well, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Death Mage is still quite smart. Not bad, I, the Supreme Overlord, like you very much. It was not a waste for me to introduce a beauty like Sun Fang to you. If you perform well, I will bestow you a physical body and let you enjoy being a man. Kaiyun was a bit unhappy. Yu Hua said in a low voice, Flagmaster, let White Bones come back. If this goes on, the other party would be able to find White Bones' weakness. Yu Hua also began to worry. The other party had evidently realized that White Bones was weak, and if they were to continue wasting time like this, no one would be able to win against the other. However, what Yu Hua was worried about was that the other party would be able to find White Bones' weakness. However, Yi Hua basically already knew of White Bones' weakness. Little wimp, seems like your subordinate is unable to defeat my subordinate's subordinate. Yi Hua said faintly, indicating that you all are very weak, to not even be able to defeat my subordinate's subordinate. Kaiyun was very angry and said, you are the little wimp, if you have the ability, then get your subordinate to take off his clothes. What a joke. This is making use of resources. You can also put on clothes for White Bones. Yi Hua said in disdain. If this White Bones were to put on clothes, wouldn't it be equivalent to revealing itself? Therefore this White Bones cannot wear anything, if not, it would lose its usefulness. Acting shamelessly. White Bones, come back. Kaiyun pouted her small mouth and flew into a rage, calling White Bones, who was in the middle of the stage, back. When White Bones heard Flagmaster's words, it took one last look at the black box, then returned behind Flagmaster unwillingly. Flagmaster, subordinate has failed in his duty. White Bones, this is not your fault, it is the enemy who is too cunning. Kaiyun said angrily. I heard that undead are usually very stupid, but why does this undead have a brain? This is really strange. Yi Hua laughed out loud. Death Mage, you have done well. Death Mage bowed respectfully in front of Yi Hua. It is subordinate's fault that subordinate was unable to defeat the other party. It's fine. Yi Hua felt great in his heart. This time, not only did I manage to get back my face, I even found out White Bones' weakness. So it turns out that in a vacuum, White Bones doesn't have any methods to deal with White Bones. I wonder if I will die in a vacuum? This is truly an exciting experiment. Lucifer was stupefied. I didn't expect that White Bones and this skeleton would be able to fight to a draw. This is too exaggerated, right? Chapter 709. In the end, Death Mage cheated a bit and wore absolute defense. If not for this armor, Death Mage would have most likely lost. But just like what Yi Hua said, this was the use of resources, so why can't I let my subordinate use it? Although Death Mage managed to fight to a draw by relying on absolute defense, he also found out about White Bone's weakness. If they were to fight again, Death Mage would be able to grasp onto White Bone's weakness and continue fighting. From how Yun Kai stopped White Bones just now, it could be seen that she didn't want White Bones to continue fighting. Yi Hua suddenly picked up his chopsticks and ate a piece of mapo tofu, then said with a smile, "So fragrant." Kai Yun clenched his fists in anger. "You? Again. Lai Gu, go and exercise a bit." Yi Hua slowly placed down his chopsticks and said lightly. Lai Gu answered respectfully, "Yes, Your Honor." Hearing Lai Gu's words, Kai Yun said in disdain, "You still call yourself Your Honor? I have killed quite a number of people who call themselves Your Honor. I am the same as well." Yi Hua said faintly. Kai Yun pouted his mouth. "This man is too good at acting cool, I must definitely teach him a lesson. Flag Master, let subordinate fight for you." Yi Hua stood up and said, "And you must win." "Flag Master, don't worry." Yi Hua's beautiful eyes turned cold as she looked towards Lai Gu. Lai Gu didn't hesitate, he looked straight at Yi Hua and even stretched out his index and middle fingers and started shaking intensely. The naive South Wuxia people didn't know what Lai Gu's hand gesture meant. But the others knew, especially Nakata Genta. He was dumbstruck. This kind of hand speed is indeed impressive. It is impossible to train without a few years of training, and with this kind of hand speed one would be invincible, any woman would like it. Dong Huang Baiji pinched Yi Hua angrily and said softly, "Look at your subordinate." Yi Hua silently stretched out his index and middle fingers, then looked at the beauty in his embrace and said, "Baiji, let's go back and try tonight. Go and die." The Empress's face instantly turned red, feeling that her husband was going to be led astray by Lai Gu. Yi Hua laughed lightly, then lightly hugged onto his wife's body, preparing to watch Lai Gu fight against a woman with a lot of water. And Yi Hua had also told Lai Gu before to never reveal his true body. Because back then, during the battle between Voidless Realm and Ing family, Lai Gu's true body was revealed, and he had even injured the Empress. Even now, the Empress was still brooding over it, and Yi Hua had also heard quite a few of the Empress's complaints. She even wanted me to help her take revenge. She said that back then, when I was beaten up so badly, you don't even feel sorry for your wife, and even asked Yi Hua to stew that bone dragon. As expected, Lai Gu was unable to escape the fate of being stewed. Right now, Lai Gu was walking down the stairs absent-mindedly. His honor did not allow me to reveal my true form, and that would depend on how strong the opponent is. If this woman were to drown me with water, then it would not be easy for me to reveal my true form. However, when his honor's true body is exposed, his honor's family, internal strife might once again occur in the family. However, if they found out that it was all just a show, the consequences would be terrifying. Standing below, Lai Gu looked at the moonlight slowly descending. It must be said that this woman was very alluring, every step she took was so graceful. That Cyan Chong Sam accentuated her figure, and there was even a slit at the side of her thigh, revealing her spotlessly white long legs to the air from time to time. This kind of feeling made Lai Gu's heart itch. Facing a woman who was like water, Lai Gu seemed to be unable to maintain his calm. Of course, I have to maintain my gentlemanly demeanor. Who knows, I might even have a wonderful chance encounter with her. Therefore, Lai Gu waved his hand towards the moonlight once again. "Hello, I am Lai Gu." Moonlight. Moonlight muttered. There wasn't much fluctuation in her emotions. This caused Lai Gu to be given the cold shoulder, causing Lai Gu to be very unhappy. Dong Huang Baiji looked at the lecherous Lai Gu and said in a low voice, "Yi Hua, don't learn from Lai Gu's bad habit of flirting with girls whenever you see them." Yi Hua once again stretched out his index finger and middle finger. Dong Huang Baiji hammered her husband unhappily, but her heart was still thumping madly. Women were all like this. Even if they said no, they were just being reserved. In fact, they needed it very much, perhaps more than men needed it. Lucifer admired Lai Gu very much. He actually dares to take liberties with a woman from Nanwuchi. Awesome. He didn't know how many years he would be sentenced for flirting with the Flag Master. It seemed like the Flag Master was already an adult. Nakata Kenta also felt that Yuehua was very beautiful. Her skin was as clear as water, and her beauty had an aura of nature to it. It made people lose themselves in it and not want to get up. Kai Yun pouted, looking very unhappy. "You actually dared to take liberties with someone else's moonlight. I'll stew you later." The four people who were sitting at the back were staring fixedly at the scene, wanting to see just how powerful Voidless Realm was. Just now the opponent had won in terms of equipment. That was White Bone's weakness, which was easy to target. However, Yuehua was different. Her battle prowess was not on the same level as White Bone's. In fact, even if Yuehua fought against White Bones, the result would still be a draw. In order to eliminate a foreign race like White Bones, apart from knowing how to exploit its weakness, luck was also needed. However, they might not know that when Lai Gu's strength is compared to Death Mage, the difference is like the difference between heaven and earth. There was no doubt about this. Beauty Yuehua, how about we make a bet? Lai Gu began to play tricks again. There's no helping it, this woman made of water looks like my heart is itching. I really can't help it. Even if I get scolded by his honor, I still have to say it out. Yuehua silently took a look at Lai Gu. Speak. If I lose, Lai Gu will be at your mercy. Then what if I lose? Yuehua asked. Lai Gu was waiting for Yuehua to say this. Then you will be my wife. Lai Gu said with a smile. Looking at Yuhua's body, Lai Gu was about to drool. As expected of a member of the dragon race, to be born with this kind of character. The corner of Yuhua's mouth twitched. At a time like this, you are actually talking about this. Do you believe that I, the Supreme Overlord, will stew you? I, the Supreme Overlord, came here to look for face. Yet you actually arranged a marriage with me. What the F***K. Even Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but cover her forehead in embarrassment. Lucifer's lower jaw was about to drop onto the table. This high school student sure has guts. Nakata Kenta also wanted to say something like this, but he didn't dare to. Meanwhile, South Wuxia's people were also endlessly astonished. There is actually someone who made such a request to Yuehua, my god. After hearing what Lai Gu said, Yuehua didn't have too much of a fluctuation in her emotions. She merely went into a daze for a moment. You want me to be your wife? Lai Gu nodded his head vigorously. I really want to press Yuehua onto the bed right now and rub myself against her. This is fate. Just now, I was the one who walked onto the stage. If Yuehua didn't walk onto the stage, I wouldn't have such a state of mind. However, it just so happened that Yuehua was the one who walked onto the stage. This is fate. This is a great marriage arranged by the heavens, therefore I, the king, have to cherish it and let my harem have another beautiful woman. Chapter 710. I cannot agree to your bet, Yuehua said seriously. This time Lai Gu became anxious. Such a beautiful woman cannot be my woman, how can that be allowed? I've already missed out on Zishan. Lihan. What? I don't want to miss out on them anymore. Why can't I agree to it? Lai Gu hurriedly asked. Because my matters are all up to you, Flagmaster, Yuehua said calmly. It seemed as though she would do whatever the Flagmaster said. When Yuehua heard what Lai Gu said, he pondered for a while. Seems like Lai Gu's plan is not bad. Disintegrating the enemy's internal unity. Brilliant. As expected of the Supreme Overlord's subordinates. Not only did they get to enjoy themselves, they also made the enemy depressed, killing two birds with one stone. Lai Gu had become smarter. Now it all depended on Kai Yun's reaction. Lai Gu shouted out towards Flagmaster, say something, are you going to bet or not? Sure. If you win, Yuehua will be yours. Kai Yun didn't think too much and directly made the bet. This was also the trust he had for his subordinate. Kai Yun's gaze turned cold and he continued, if you lose, I'm going to stew you. Lai Gu directly ignored the latter half of his honor's sentence. I have been stewed by his honor for several hundred years, and I am still doing fine. Today I am going to hug a beauty and return home. Look, your Flagmaster has already agreed to it. Lai Gu said happily. This time around, there isn't anyone who is going to snatch my woman away from me, right? Yuehua nodded. Sure. Then, I want to consummate my marriage tonight. Lai Gu was very anxious, and he wished that he could go to consummate his marriage right now. Sure. Yuhua's voice was still that ordinary, this caused Lai Gu's interest to increase greatly. I like this kind of cold beauty, this kind of beauty is comparable to my own Wuxia. I don't know if they will be angry if I bring another woman home? It couldn't be. Lai Gu did not have any weapons, and he relied on his own hands to achieve his dreams. Yuehua clenched her hand, and a long saber made of clear water appeared. The saber was very long. The blade was at least 2 meters long. The water flow on the sword was clearly visible and it seemed very strange. As expected of a woman that is made of water, even her weapon is made of water, I wonder. Lai Gu entered YY, and the corner of his mouth revealed out a shameful daydream. Yu Hua wouldn't be lenient, and her body instantly disappeared from where she was. This caused Lai Gu to come back to his senses, and a sense of danger immediately assaulted him. Lai Gu thought to himself, this woman is a bit weak. With a low shout, Lai Gu's body exploded out with powerful spirit energy, then he punched out with his fist. Yu Hua's beautiful figure also appeared, and the water blade in her hand was currently piercing towards Lai Gu's fist. Without any suspense, it was as if Lai Gu's fist had smashed onto an ordinary water surface. The water blade was basically unable to withstand such an attack and dissipated. However, Yu Hua appeared very calm, as if she had already expected this result. Yu Hua, I am very strong, you have to treat me seriously. Lai Gu grinned and said, today I will let you see my strength as a man. Whether it was in bed or out of bed, it was second to none. Yu Hua said softly, you also have to take it seriously. Thank you for your concern. Lai Gu's heart felt warm. This isn't even my wife yet, and she is already so concerned about me. If she becomes my wife, wouldn't I die of warmth? Just as Lai Gu finished speaking, his pupils instantly shrunk. Before he could even think, he punched out with his left fist. This fist fiercely penetrated through Yu Hua's delicate body, and the huge fist was revealed from Yu Hua's back. And right now, a water blade also appeared on Lai Gu's chest. The two of them maintained this posture, and the water blade in Yu Hua's hand actually bent. Just now, Lai Gu had indeed dissipated the water blade with his fist, but right now the water blade and water blade merged together and pierced into Lai Gu's back. Yi Hua scolded Lai Gu inwardly. When did you become so careless? You still have the mood to speak flowery words. It has only been a few moves and you are already injured by someone else, idiot. Yi Zizi should have been the one to fight for the battle just now. Why did Yu Hua take the initiative to fight? That was because she knew that Lai Gu was a dragon, and she also knew the character of dragons. As long as one makes good use of their character, they would naturally be able to heavily injure their opponent, just like what happened right now. Looking at how Lai Gu punched through Yu Hua, Nan Wuxia and the others were very calm and unworried. Just like what was said before, Yu Hua was made of water. You should be a bit more serious. Yu Hua said faintly. Lai Gu's expression became a bit bad. The punch that I punched just now clearly felt, as if my punch punched through water, and there wasn't that kind of punching effect at all. This woman. There is really a lot of water. Just now, Lai Gu also knew that there was danger on his back, but he wasn't in a hurry to dodge and chose to exchange injury for injury. However, he still underestimated his opponent. Lai Gu slowly retracted his fist, and a hole could be seen on Yu Hua's chest, and inside the hole was actually flowing water, and then the water slowly fused together. F***K, this is possible? Lai Gu cried out in surprise. This feels so unreal. That's right. Yu Hua's entire body was made of water, and no matter how Lai Gu was attacked, he would be able to instantly recover. Yu Hua swung her slender hand, and under the huge inertia of the water blade, Lai Gu was flung away. Lai Gu knocked onto the golden halo, then fell onto the ground. A muffled sound rang out. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. My 7 sins, Lai Gu was actually beaten down by a woman. This bastard. This time I asked you to come here to gain face, not to lose face. Haha, Yu Hua, well fought. When Kai Yun saw that Yu Hua was able to beat down the opponent's main force with just 1 or 2 moves, he felt great in his heart as he stood on the stool and clapped his hands. Yi Hua wanted to refute, but he was unable to find the words to say. This Lai Gu. This supreme overlord's face is completely thrown away by you. Also, how am I supposed to break this woman's innate talent? Since it is made of water, I don't know if there will be any effect if I use fire to burn it. Yu Hua looked at Lai Gu, who was not far away, with cold eyes. The water blade in her hand lightly moved horizontally on the right side, then leaned back and said in a low voice, Water flash. The water blade in Yu Hua's hand could be seen suddenly lengthening. The speed at which the water blade lengthened was extremely fast, to the point where no one was able to react in time. Furthermore, the water blade was aimed towards Lai Gu's head. The meaning behind it was already very clear. Lai Gu, who was lying on the ground, suddenly stretched out his arm and grabbed onto the tip of the water blade. The strong water pressure could be used as a cutting machine, and Yu Hua's water flash was not just a cutting machine, it seemed to be able to cut through anything. The water flowed through Lai Gu's palm, and the skin and flesh on Lai Gu's palm began to disappear, revealing Dragon Claw. Although it was not Lai Gu's main body, it was still a small-scale dragon claw. Soon after, the skin and flesh of Lai Gu's entire left arm completely disappeared, and the eerie white bones were exposed to the air. causing people to tremble with fear. Dragon flames. Lai Gu muttered, then suddenly raised his head and sprayed out a stream of fiery red flames. However, Yu Hua did not dodge at all and directly took the stream of dragon flames head-on. Lai Gu stood up. Although blood was flowing out from his chest that was penetrated by the dragon flames, it was not a big deal. However, Lai Gu's entire left arm had already been exposed to Lai Gu's main body, thus it should not be discovered by your wife. Chapter 7:11. Dong Huang Baiji indeed didn't think in that direction, she just felt that Lai Gu's hand was different. Yahua, is Lai Gu also a skeleton? Dong Huang Baiji asked curiously. And Yi Hua nodded his head then asked, Baiji, do you like skeletons? Skeletons? I can't really say that I like it, but I feel that it's a bit horrifying. Dong Huang Baiji pursed her cherry lips. Although I don't dislike skeletons, I still don't feel comfortable looking at them. Hearing what the Empress said, Yi Hua became a bit gloomy. She actually doesn't like skeletons? I, the Supreme Overlord, am also a skeleton. In actuality, Dong Huang Baiji was talking about other people. If Yi Hua was a skeleton, he would definitely not be able to adapt to the appearance of Dong Huang Baiji. However, Dong Huang Baiji would only be able to adapt to Dong Huang Baiji's appearance. No matter what, Dong Huang Baiji was still Dong Huang Baiji's husband. At the scene, moonlight was madly burned by the bone-cracking dragon flame. Outside, only one person could be seen standing in the dragon flame. Lai Gu secretly took a glance at his honor and discovered that his honor's complexion wasn't very good. Just now, I was too careless and ended up getting abused by my future wife. However, under this king's dragon flames, no matter how powerful the water is, it will be extinguished. Yu Hua, it's fine if you admit defeat now, just obediently be my wife. Lai Gu shouted towards the fire. The flaming moonlight essence didn't reply immediately. Instead it said indifferently, water flash. Split. Lai Gu was startled, countless water blades actually appeared within the dragon flames, and that densely packed look caused Lai Gu's scalp to go numb. Seems like he has trypophobia. Lai Gu didn't plan to use his body to block the attack, and directly started running. However, those countless water blades actually chased after Lai Gu. No matter what kind of difficult posture Lai Gu made, those water blades still chased after him relentlessly. This caused Lai Gu to be stupefied. If I wasn't worried that my body would be exposed, would I still be in such a sorry state? Yu Hua shouted, and the dragon flames surrounding her suddenly disappeared. Looking at Yu Hua, she was completely fine. Looking at Yu Hua's current state, Yi Hua was thinking in his heart, would it be effective if I used the strange flame? However, the might of Lai Gu's dragon flame was already very close to that of an alien flame. This Yu Hua was actually able to withstand it, she was truly formidable. This nameless flag is indeed different from the rest. I'm really curious what kind of abilities they have. Lai Gu couldn't care so much anymore, his body suddenly dived towards Yu Hua's body, and the sharp claws on his left hand emitted a cold light. With a light wave, 3 beams of cold light shot towards Yu Hua. Boom. The entire Nan Wu flag trembled. 3 rays of cold light pierced through Yu Hua's delicate body and into the ground, coming out from underneath the flag. If it was someone with a body of flesh and blood, there was a 99% chance that they would have died. However, today Lai Gu's opponent was Moonlight, who was made of water. Yu Hua's body was divided into 3 parts. With the naked eye, Yu Hua's body was filled with water. That was exactly what they said. There is so much water. Looking at Yu Hua's appearance, Lai Gu was a little happy. This should be considered as a defeat, right? However, the moonlight that followed after caused Lai Gu's scalp to go numb. It could be seen that the moonlight that was split into 3 parts was actually growing, then they turned into 3 standing moons. This caused Lai Gu to be dumbstruck. Countless water blades fiercely struck onto Lai Gu's back, and Lai Gu's entire body felt as if he was rammed by a truck and was fiercely smashed into the ground. At this moment, Yi Hua was also stupefied. This woman actually has this kind of innate talent. Lai Gu's attack is completely useless against her. Just now it was only 1 attack and now it actually became 3. Just that I don't know if this kind of increase will affect my strength or not. In Yi Hua's impression, this kind of multiple clones will only cause my strength to be divided. I might as well just become one. Lai Gu, who was smashed onto the ground, seemed to be completely fine. His white bones were already revealed on his back, looking very terrifying. Yo. Why did it become 3? Lai Gu stood up, pointed at the moonlight and asked. The 3 moonlights looked at Lai Gu silently, and the moonlight in the middle said faintly, it is only 3. Damn. Could it be that there are still more? Lai Gu was very excited. I picked up a treasure this time. I really picked up a treasure. This moonlight actually has this kind of ability, wouldn't I feel great? In my mind, I imagined countless moonlights lying on the bed and waving at me. That scene will definitely be very great. I am already beaten to this state, yet Lai Gu is still fantasizing. As expected of a dragon. However, Lai Gu encountered a difficult problem right now. How am I going to defeat this woman? She is actually invulnerable. This is simply too much of a counter to me. As a dragon, Lai Gu was able to use powerful magic in the past, but after becoming an undead, he was actually unable to use any magic at all. The only thing he could use was that mouthful of thick phlegm. Although he was unable to use any magic, his strength received a boost, allowing him to be invincible in the sky. However, facing against the moonlight, Lai Gu felt that he had no advantage at all, and was completely restrained by his opponent. What should I do? Death Mage is able to fight to a draw, but I can't fight to a draw. No matter what, I am one of the 7 sins. Fighting to a draw is too embarrassing. I have to think of a way. Yihua was also worried for Lai Gu right now. He felt that the talent of the moonlight is too much of a counter to Lai Gu. After all, Lai Gu is a normal player, his battle power in the sky is very strong, but this isn't an aerial battle. Lai Gu's advantage is unable to be displayed. Furthermore, this moonlight seems to be immune to physical attacks. This is very vexing. If I knew that this would be the case, I wouldn't have brought along 2 subordinates that are purely physical attacks. I should have changed Lai Gu to Wei Chang, that way it would have been more dependable. It's my miscalculation. Yihua, this woman is very strong. Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but say. Yihua nodded his head. If I knew that this would be the case, I would have given Lai Gu some things to use. Lai Gu doesn't have any? He only likes gold and women. Yihua said helplessly. Lai Gu's greatest interest was to collect shiny things. After that, it would be women. Donghuang Baiji was very speechless. Someone that likes gold and women, isn't that a dragon? Seems like your little brother can't do it. Kai Yun opened a bottle of Lihaha AD calcium milk and started drinking it. Yihua sneered, your little brother doesn't seem to be able to do it either. Cough cough cough. Kai Yun choked. He was about to be angered to death by Yihua. Kai Yun could only snort, expressing that he was unhappy. I will stew your subordinate later. Although Kai Yun was thinking like this, he was also very surprised. This man is not wearing any armor, and yet he is still able to withstand Moonlight's attack. Even if he is a bone dragon, he did not reveal his true form. If he were to reveal his true form, his attack and defense would be increased by 100 times. However, my Moonlight did not reveal her true form either. The restraint of one's true form is the most troublesome. When one reaches their level of strength, restraint is a fatal injury. Just like how White Bones was unable to do anything to Death Mage just now. Right now, Lai Gu was unable to do anything to Moonlight. Chapter 7:12. At this moment, Yuhua didn't know what Lai Gu was thinking about in his mind, and she thought that the astonished gaze was because of her own strength. How many can you transform into at most? Lai Gu asked with a slightly trembling voice. This woman is definitely mine. This talent is simply tailor-made for me, Lai Gu. Hearing Lai Gu's fearful tone, Yuhua revealed out a light smile. This caused Lai Gu to almost drool, as if he had once again become that lecherous dog from back then. You can have as many as you want, Yuhua said calmly. Lai Gu's heart was thumping madly. This is King hinting at me crazily, good fellow. You are even more anxious than me, Lai Gu. Why don't we change to another location and spar for a bit? If I, Lai Gu, were to soften and fall to the ground, it would be my loss. In the future, you will be my woman. Lai Gu was extremely heroic and no longer suppressing his strength erupted out crazily. The violent spiritual pressure covered the sky, and the entire Nanwo flag trembled violently. Cracks appeared on the tall stairs, and they began to break apart. It came crashing down. Under Lai Gu's pressure, that layer of golden barrier also shattered. At this moment, Lai Gu's expression was filled with madness, and it seemed like he wanted to ruthlessly rub the woman in front of him against the ground. The terrifying wind blew off the roof of the Namo no Flag Hall. Lucifer and Miller immediately put up their defenses, and so did Kenta Nakata. Even so, his body was moving slowly as if he was about to be blown away by the wind. Kai Yun turned his head around and looked at his own palace. The roof of the palace is gone. Ah, my house. Compensate me. Kai Yun shouted towards Lai Gu, looking as if he wanted to kill Lai Gu. Fortunately, Luo Ho, who was behind Kai Yun, managed to hold Flagmaster back. However, they were also shocked by the aura released by Lai Gu. Because right now, Lai Gu had yet to reveal his true form, and the power that he could produce was already so huge. If he were to release his true form, it would be even more terrifying. It turned out that this fellow had been concealing his strength all along. He harbored ulterior motives. The people of southern Wuxia were indeed surprised, but they were not frightened. They seemed to be quite confident in Moonlight Flower. Donghuang Baiji was also a bit startled. Lai Gu's strength had exceeded her expectations. Furthermore, why does this aura feel so familiar? Yihua probably still didn't know that the oppressive might that Lai Gu released had already caused his wife to be puzzled. Luckily, it was only a slight puzzlement and didn't think too much into it. Yihua, who was standing in front of Lai Gu, had a sunken expression on her face. The strength of this man in front of me has exceeded my estimation. He is very strong. Looking at Yuhua's surprised gaze, Lai Gu grinned and said, "Future wife. Did you tremble in fear under my power? After you defeat me, you can say such big words again." Yuhua said calmly, as if she was not afraid at all. "That's good. I'll show you today. With the power of your man, I will teach you how to be a wife." Just as he finished speaking, Lai Gu's body suddenly exploded, and the entire ground instantly collapsed. Kai Yun covered onto his face. "My nan will flag. You guys have to pay for it." Lai Gu, who went all out, was indeed very valiant. Regardless of whether it was speed or strength, both of them received very good bonuses. But, more and more moonlight appeared on the scene. After Lai Gu slashed 1, it became 2, and after slashing 2, it became 4, never ending. However, not only was Lai Gu not depressed, he became more and more excited. "So much water. This woman is mine. Ha ha ha." Right now, Yihua was not happy. Because this moonlight was too overpowered. Fortunately, Lai Gu's defense was overpowered, otherwise he would definitely lose. Because this moonlight clone was actually as strong as the main body, this was something that Yihua had never seen before. However, in the Nanwu flag, Moonlight was only ranked 3rd. That Song Kong Hong who spoke very slowly, and that Scarecrow Quang Sha, what was their innate skill? This made Yihua have the idea of accepting them. This would greatly increase the strength of my team, especially that White Bones, who is a natural scout. This Nanwu flag is indeed a bit interesting. After Lai Gu slashed the moonlight once again. This time, the moonlight did not continue to clone itself, and instead, it healed itself. "It's not splitting itself anymore?" Lai Gu asked doubtfully. Moonlight's clone was not limitless. If it was limitless, wouldn't it be invincible? Looking at the entire scene, there should be 100 moonlights surrounding Lai Gu. Right now, Yuhua didn't want to speak anymore. This man is indeed very powerful. All of the attacks that landed on his body were completely useless, and my clone is being struck out limitlessly. How can there be such a person in Voidless Realm? Isn't he a bone dragon? Future wife, do you think that it will be fine if you don't speak? Although I am unable to deal any damage to you, your limitless recovery will consume some of its energy, right? I don't believe that you will be able to continuously heal yourself. I will be able to fight with you until dawn. Lai Gu roared angrily and prepared to teach this future wife of his a lesson. Serving a man properly is what you should do. Lai Gu's hands could be seen transforming into sharp claws as he shouted out, "Invincible circle spinning." Yihua couldn't help but mutter, "This name sure is low." This was just Lai Gu's improvisation. Lai Gu could be seen spinning 360 degrees, and a biting cold claw wind engulfed the entire stage, slicing everything apart, including those 100 moonlights. However, this time, the moonlight did not continue to heal itself. It turned into clear water and flowed onto the ground. This caused Lai Gu's brows to become wrinkled. What does this mean? Did he give up resisting? Yuhua knew that her attacks would not be effective, and rather than continuing to fight endlessly like this, she might as well take the initiative to attack. Lai Gu looked at the clear water on the ground that was gradually fusing together, but the clear water did not take the shape of a human and flowed towards him. The hell? What are you trying to do? Lai Gu's sharp claws slashed onto the clear water crazily, but there was no effect. In actuality, both of their attacks were unable to deal any damage to each other. Yuhua seemed to be innately immune to all physical attacks, while Lai Gu relied on his powerful strength to forcefully resist the attacks of the moonlight. However, from strength and defense, it could be seen that Lai Gu still had the advantage. However, looking at the current situation, Lai Gu's scalp went a little numb. No matter what, I am unable to get rid of the clear water that was formed by the moonlight. The clear water kept rushing towards me, seemingly wanting to swallow me. Just as Lai Gu was panicking, a lump of clear water appeared from behind and stuck onto Lai Gu's back. Then, it turned into a stream of water and connected with the clear water on the ground. "Yo, future wife, what are you doing?" Lai Gu was a little panicked as he patted away the water on his body, but there was no effect. Lai Gu couldn't help but say, "Future wife, you sure have a lot of water." Not long later, Lai Gu was enveloped by the moonlight. Chapter 7:13. Lai Gu was like a person in the water. He was a bit stupefied. This future wife of mine actually wanted to drown me with water. This is truly a bit scary. However, Lai Gu thought too much. The water in the package actually seeped into Lai Gu's body. In the blink of an eye, the water disappeared. Lai Gu stood on the spot blankly and looked at the dumbstruck his honor. Isn't this a bit too impatient? Since you have intercourse with my milk, and fused with me, but fused with me, who the hell am I going to look for? This move won't do. That move is still the best. Just when Lai Gu was laughing happily, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. When did my hand raise up, and it was clenched into a fist. Bang. Lai Gu immediately punched himself with his right hand, his body smashed onto the wall, and then South Wuxia was penetrated through. "My South Wuxia," Kai Yun shouted while holding onto his chest. However, this was not the end. Lai Gu started a self-torture mode, from the sky to the ground, and then from the ground to the sky. The entire South Wuxia was riddled with holes, causing Kai Yun's heart to break. Yi Hua's expression was heavy, and he remained silent. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji lightly held onto her husband's hand and comforted him. This is Yuehua's main body. To actually be able to control others. To even be able to control my Lai Gu, this kind of main body is too scary. If she were to control my main body, Yi Hua doesn't know if he would be able to resist it. I feel that what I came into contact with before is just the tip of the iceberg. This time the shock that South Wuxia brought to me is still astonishing. Not knowing how long had passed, Lai Gu finally returned. His entire face was already beaten into a pig's head by me, and it was filled with blood. "Yuehua, you tortured me thousands of times, but I treated you as my true love." Lai Gu muttered, then coughed out blood. Bang. Another punch. It felt as if Yuehua was taking revenge on Lai Gu. Although Lai Gu was beaten up very badly by me, it wasn't fatal, and it was just some superficial wounds. "Yuehua, I really like you." Lai Gu's teeth were knocked out, and his words were a bit leaky. Right after he finished speaking, Lai Gu punched towards his stomach, and his eyeballs almost popped out. Lai Gu still didn't give up. "Yuehua, even if you beat me to death, I will still like you." However, what she did next made all the men's buttocks go cold. Lai Gu could be seen doing the monkey steals peach technique towards Yi Hua. This caused Lai Gu's face to turn pale with fright, and he hurriedly said, "Yi Hua, let's talk things out. You must not touch this thing." Yi Hua looked at Lai Gu, who was at a loss of what to do, and sank into contemplation. How should I break this move of Yi Hua's? There must be a way, just that he hadn't figured it out yet. Lai Gu was in a panic. I have already lost control of my body unless I reveal my true form. However, if I reveal my true form, his honor is going to be subjected to domestic violence. Your honor, subordinate didn't hesitate to lose my treasures because of you. Subordinate is willing to do my utmost for your honor. Later on you must definitely give me a big one, the big and thick kind. The veins on Lai Gu's forehead were bulging. He was trying his best to regain control of his body, but it was King useless. "Yuehua, don't mess around. You really can't do this. According to the rules of Jianghu, you can't hit the lower body." Lai Gu had no other choice and could only spout nonsense. His manhood was grabbed. Any man would have to lower his head and beg for forgiveness. "Your honor, save me." Lai Gu shouted out towards Yi Hua, who was on the viewing platform. This woman is too perverted to actually dare to hold back such a move. Yi Hua directly ignored him. "If you explode later on, I will give you an even bigger one." Lai Gu was already about to go crazy, to the point that he was faintly about to reveal his true form. Yi Hua felt that Lai Gu was about to do this and scolded Lai Gu in his heart. Lai Gu is also unable to control himself. No man would be able to endure this kind of situation. In any case, Lai Gu felt that as long as Lai Gu revealed his true form, Yi Hua would lose control of his body. Lai Gu felt that Yi Hua's control was only towards the human body. Right now, Yi Hua didn't want Lai Gu to reveal his true form and said, "There is no meaning in fighting like this. Next round." "How is there no meaning? I feel that it is very interesting. I want to watch. Yi Hua, don't stop." Kai Yun snorted. "You want me to stop just because you said so? Isn't it very embarrassing for me?" Along with Kai Yun's words, Lai Gu felt that he was going to die. He hurriedly said, "Yu Hua, I was wrong, I won't look for you to be my wife anymore." Speaking of which, after saying those words, Lai Gu felt a lot better. Right now, I have to take his honor into consideration and I have to win at the same time. How is this possible? His honor, the mission that you gave me is too difficult. A water stain could be seen appearing on Lai Gu's skin, and the water slowly flowed onto the ground. After transforming into Yu Hua was still so beautiful. Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief. This woman is so savage. Yu Hua, good job. Kai Yun smiled and clapped his hands. He felt that Yu Hua had helped him regain back his face, and made the other party directly admit his mistake. Yu Hua revealed out a light smile towards Kai Yun, then looked towards Lai Gu and snorted coldly. Although Lai Gu didn't admit defeat, what was the difference between him saying, "I was wrong," and admitting defeat? Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. "Why do I feel that they are flirting with each other?" Hee. Yu Hua was in a bad mood. The reason why I brought Lai Gu and Yi Zizi over was to completely defeat the other party. I didn't expect that the other party actually wanted to force Lai Gu to reveal his true form. If Dong Huang Baiji wasn't here it wouldn't matter, but the truth was that she was here. Rather than letting her see Lai Gu's true form, I might as well lose this round. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't want to experience their cold violence anymore. Lai Gu, who had a bloody nose and swollen face, slowly walked to Yi Hua's side. He felt that he had lost a lot of face. Even Death Mage was able to fight evenly with White Bones and actually, Your Honor. Lai Gu didn't even know what to say anymore. Forget it, don't say any more. Yi Hua knew that Lai Gu was thinking for him, and thus he didn't plan to teach Lai Gu a lesson. Stretching out his hand, Lai Gu's injuries instantly healed, and Lai Gu looked brand new. Lai Gu retreated behind Yi Hua with a dispirited expression. Yi Zizi, who was standing at the side, made a face at Lai Gu. Shame, shame, shame. Alright, I got mocked by Yi Zizi. Big brother, your subordinate is only SS. Initially, I wanted to betroth Yu Hua to your subordinate, but what a pity. Kai Yun stretched out his index finger and shook it, looking very pretentious. Yu Hua once again sat behind Kai Yun and hugged him in her embrace. Hearing what the flagmaster said, her beautiful face had a bit of a weird expression. Just now it was indeed a bit awkward. If I didn't do that, how would the other party admit defeat? Just that, Yu Hua was also very curious as to why Lai Gu didn't change into his true form just now. If he changed into his true form, I would have lost control of my body, and he wouldn't have to admit defeat. At the very least it would be a draw. He can't be going easy on me, right? Thinking up to here, Yu Hua's gaze looked towards Lai Gu, who was feeling wronged. Chapter 7:14. Lucifer's mind was in a daze. Such a high-intensity attack and he is actually completely fine? This is too nonsensical, right? They can't be faking it, right? That man just lightly waved his hand, and that person's injury was healed. Can it be done like this? It's all fake. The people here are all fake, they are all actors. At this moment Yi Zizi slowly walked out of the stage. Her beautiful dress was fluttering along with the wind, and her two ponytails were fluttering behind her head. He really wanted to grab those two ponytails and operate them crazily. If he didn't make a loss in 1 year, he would make a profit in 3 years. Yi Zizi yawned, then looked at the people from South Wuxia and asked, "Who's going up?" Luo Ho could be seen slowly standing up and closing the folding fan in his hand. "Let me do it." Yi Zizi pursed her lips and walked down the stage step by step. "Luo Ho, be careful, she is from the Taotai race." Yu Hua reminded him in a low voice. "And I understand." Luo Ho responded, then walked down the stage and stood in front of Yi Zizi. Towards Yi Zizi, Yi Hua was very assured, unless this Luo Ho also had some kind of abnormal talent. At this moment, Kai Yun stopped smiling and looked very serious. After knowing Yi Zizi's race, he was still very worried. After all, the Taotai race was truly abnormal. They were able to suck people's blood, but I don't know if the energy within the elements can be sucked. If it can be sucked, then it would be completely restrained. Just like Yi Zizi's liquid, no matter what Lai Gu did, it would be useless. But if it was Yi Zizi who directly sucked it, of course this was only a guess and the specifics could only be known after testing it out. Luo Ho also understood this point, but he still couldn't help but go up to the stage. Because the Taotai race was very strong, Luo Ho wanted to challenge this kind of race. Yi Zizi did not summon her equipment and seemed to be very relaxed. Her eyes revealed a tired look, seeming as if she did not sleep well. "Hurry up." Seeing that her opponent did not move, Yi Zizi couldn't help but shout out. Don't just stand there and not move. Luo Ho let out a breath, feeling a bit nervous in his heart. He waved the folding fan in his hand and shouted lightly, "Drunken chant." The folding fan in Luo Ho's hand could be seen shining brightly, and a golden storm could be seen rushing towards Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi revealed a puzzled look, her scarlet eyes looked very calm as she stretched out her hand and slapped. Bah! The golden storm shattered into pieces in Yi Zizi's palm. It didn't even touch the hem of her dress before it dissipated. Lai Gu was very gloomy. If the person I met just now was Luo Ho, I would also be able to act cool like this and slap the other party to death with a single hand. Luo Ho was not too disappointed. This was just a small test. This race was indeed very powerful. Even though it was still a child, it was still a powerful existence. It seemed that he would have to pay a price to defeat it. Golden Cicada Battle God. Luo Ho shouted in a low voice, the folding fan in his hand suddenly flung out. The folding fan slowly transformed in the air and turned into an eagle, which ferociously attacked Yi Zizi. Yi Zizi exhaled weakly and raised her little fist to punch the goshawk. Boom! This punch carried a scorching and ferocious aura, and the terrifying spiritual energy even blew away the clouds in the sky. The golden goshawk disappeared in an instant. It didn't even have the chance to attack. Luo Ho's eyes darkened. Was their race so ferocious? Of course, even Yi Hua had to weigh Yi Zizi's strength. In fact, he wasn't even Yi Zizi's opponent in terms of strength. And Yi Zizi's strength was above Lai Gu's, and it seemed like she could settle everything with a single punch. What a violent little loli. Seeing that Yi Zizi had the upper hand, Yi Hua was very happy in his heart and kissed the empress who was in his embrace. Dong Huang Baiji was very shy. Kissing in front of so many people seems to be the first time. Yi Hua didn't care so much. I'm just showing off my affection, so what? Seeing Yi Hua and the empress kissing, Kaiyun snorted coldly. However, he was also worried about Luo Ho's situation. This little loli seems to be a lot stronger than the one just now. After all, Lai Gu's advantage isn't in fighting on the ground, and what Yi Zizi specializes in the most is fighting on the ground, especially in terms of strength. Hey, be more serious, at least let me warm up. Yi Zizi shouted out helplessly. If the other party only has this much ability, I will be disappointed. Luo Ho's face darkened, and at this moment, his eyes turned golden. Divine light. Luo Ho roared as a piercing golden light erupted from his eyes. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji, who were currently kissing passionately, did not feel anything, and they were currently infatuated with the sweet kiss. However, Lai Gu, who was standing at the back, couldn't help but to close his eyes. That 18K golden light of yours is really blinding my eyes. Death Mage did not have eyes at all, so he was very calm. Lucifer and Mill reflexively stretched out their hands to block the attack, then turned their faces to the side and closed their eyes. Nakata Genta's eyes widened. It wasn't that he didn't want to close them, but it was too late. Blood flowed out of his eyes and he was instantly blinded by the dazzling golden light. Nakata Genta couldn't help but scream in pain. However, just as he shouted, a bloody line appeared on his neck. Like Miyamoto Nagatake, his head was separated from his body. White Bones acted decisively to avoid disturbing the Flag Master's mood. However, at this moment, Yunkai's eyes were also covered. When Luo Ho shouted out the divine light, Yu Hua had covered Yunkai's eyes and also closed her own eyes. The people sitting in the back did the same, as if they had done this often in the past. However, Wild Sand, who was a scarecrow, was a bit interesting. He actually took out 2 plates to cover his eyes. This was one of Luo Ho's ultimate moves. As long as one was hit by the divine light, even if one didn't become blind, one would still be blinded for a short period of time. And right now it was a good opportunity for Luo Ho to make his move. A double-edged golden spear could be seen appearing in Luo Ho's hands. The golden spear was silently shot out, and the blade was pointed straight at Yi Zizi's forehead. On the other hand, Yi Zizi's pair of scarlet eyes were wide open, and she didn't have any intention of closing her eyes at all. Within her scarlet eyes, the image of the golden spear could be seen. Looking at this situation, a victorious smile appeared on the corner of Luo Ho's mouth. This double-edged golden spear doesn't contain any spiritual energy, and it also doesn't emit any aura. This set of moves had killed countless experts, and it was impossible to guard against it. Right now, Yi Hua let go of the Empress. The Empress, who was bashful, appeared to be very embarrassed as she tightly snuggled into her husband's embrace, looking as if she didn't have the face to see anyone. What an adorable Empress. Yi Hua wasn't too worried. I know of Yi Zizi's abilities, and this kind of situation is very easy to deal with. Pa. Looking at this kind of scene, the corner of Kai Yun's mouth twitched. This is too illogical, right? Not only Kai Yun, even Yu Hua was a bit surprised. As expected of gluttony? As expected of gluttony, the strength of this race is indeed formidable. As the person involved, Luo Ho's brows wrinkled, and a look of surprise could be seen within his eyes. How is this possible? Chapter 7:15. She opened her eyes and was hit by the divine light, but it actually did not have any effect. Furthermore, he grabbed his own double-edged golden spear. That's right, Yi Zizi's right hand gripped the double-edged golden spear tightly. The golden spear turned into fragments and fell to the ground. Yi Zizi said softly, "Is there nothing else? If there's nothing else, it's my turn." Luo Ho, be careful. Kai Yun could not help but shout. Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. This flag master is actually shouting. You don't know the rules. Yi Zizi's 2 strands of hair had already quietly drilled into the ground, and when Luo Ho was exclaiming in surprise just now, the 2 strands of hair were currently at the back of Luo Ho's head, and when Kai Yun discovered this, he ignored the rules and shouted at Luo Ho. Luo Ho knew that something bad was about to happen when the flag master shouted at him. His body moved instantly, and Yi Zizi's 2 strands of hair missed. Luo Ho, who was floating in the air, saw the fine hairs, and the tip of the hairs was actually a kind of creature, with tiny fangs emitting a bloodthirsty aura. If it had just burrowed into his body, coupled with the Taotai clan's innate talent, just thinking about it really made his back turn cold. Yi Zizi glared angrily at Kai Yun, who was in the spectator stands. If it wasn't for his reminder just now, she would have already sucked him dry. At this moment, Yi Zizi was a little angry. Right when Yi Zizi was about to continue attacking, Yi Hua shouted out gravely, "Zizi, come back." Hearing his honor's shout, Yi Zizi immediately retracted her berserk aura and looked coldly at Luo Ho, who was floating in the air. Yi Zizi disappeared from where she was, and soon after, she appeared behind Yi Hua. At this moment, Yahua's expression was gloomy as he said to Kai Yun, "You Nan Wuxi is only a You have truly broadened my horizons." Kai Yun also knew that his action just now was not in accordance with the rules, but he couldn't help but remind Yi Hua. Thus I, the flag master, am not in the wrong. A little brat is just a little brat. I can't be bothered to negotiate with you. Yi Hua stood up and seemed to be planning to leave. I have already gained quite a lot today, and I can't be bothered to continue playing with this brat and waste my time. You're not allowed to leave. Kai Yun was anxious, his childish mentality completely exposed. Yi Hua turned around and sneered, "Why? In any case, you're not allowed to leave. We haven't finished competing yet." Kai Yun said hurriedly. It wasn't easy for him to encounter a powerful opponent, and he didn't want him to disappear just like that. You still want to compete? Compete in what? Competing in snitching? Yi Hua said faintly. Kai Yun bit his lips lightly and said shamelessly, "In any case, you said that I'm a little wimp, so it's normal for a little wimp to snitch on me." Yi Hua, this is the first time I've seen such a shameless boss. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to do such a thing. Apologize for your behavior just now. Yi Hua suddenly had a flash of inspiration. I feel that this is not a bad idea. Let the flag master of South Wuxi Banner apologize to me. It can be considered as helping Lai Gu vent his anger. Sure enough, after hearing what his honor said, Lai Gu became very excited. Flag master apologizing to his honor, isn't that a great thing? Seeing that Kai Yun was dumbfounded, Yi Hua said lightly, "Not going to apologize? I will be leaving then." Wait. Kai Yun shouted angrily. What a petty man. Didn't I just casually guide my subordinate a little? You're using this kind of thing to threaten me? You're too petty. You're bullying a child. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. If this kind of thing happened in the past, I would have directly chopped it with a kitchen knife. Now it was different. He could achieve the same effect in another way, and it was even more satisfying. Yi Hua looked towards Kai Yun and suddenly discovered that this little girl was rather interesting. Her mentality is still immature. Flag Master, Yi Hua said with concern. She knew the Flag Master's personality. He would do anything to fight a strong opponent. Kai Yun pursed his lips, then said towards Yi Hua, "I'm sorry." When Lucifer heard the Flag Master's apology, he was dumbfounded. This child was too gullible. This is even possible. However, Yi Hua still said, "I can't hear you, speak louder." Kai Yun was angered to the point that his chest was heaving up and down as he shouted out loudly towards Yi Hua, "I'm sorry. Is that okay?" For what matter? Yihua asked. Kai Yun was speechless. If you don't want to say it, then I'm leaving. You're shameless. Kai Yun pointed at Yihua and shouted out. Kai Yun's eyes had already turned red from anger. This is the first time that I, the flag master, feel so wronged. If you don't want to speak, I'm leaving. Yihua didn't pay any attention to him at all. I apologize for my behavior just now, I'm sorry. Is that alright? What kind of tone is this? Is this the tone of an apology? Yihua said while looking at Kai Yun's small face that had turned red from anger. Donghuang Baiji pulled the corner of her husband's sleeve. Don't bully a child like this. Didn't I apologize already? Why would you have so many requests? Kai Yun was about to cry, and Yihua hurriedly comforted the flag master's wounded heart. The flag master really had a heart of glass. Yihua looked at the flag master who was about to cry and changed his strategy. It's fine if you want me to stay, but how about we make a bet? Yihua said. What bet? When Kai Yun heard that Yihua was going to stay behind, he instantly smiled again. His expression was even faster than flipping the pages of a book. Yihua said indifferently, let's have a fight. If you win, it's up to you, but if I win, you guys will recognize me as your boss. Lai Gu, who was at the back, muttered, I'll teach you to comb your hair in the middle. Donghuang Baiji was a bit astonished. I didn't expect that her husband was planning to do this. However, this is not a bad idea. These people are all very powerful, and coupled with their strange race's innate skill, it is very hard for people to guard against them. Lucifer was shocked. He did not expect this man to want to take South Wuxia for himself. His appetite was way too big. No, it should be said that his ambition was way too big, right? After Kai Yun heard what Yihua said, he was clearly shocked. However, very quickly he came back to his senses and said, all right. This time it was Yihua's turn to be shocked. To agree so quickly, there can't be any tricks, right? Yihua was thinking too much. Kai Yun's personality was just like this. Looking at those subordinates of his, they didn't seem to be surprised at all when the flag master agreed to the bet. If you lose, you have to be my horse. Kai Yun said to Yihua with a smile. His face was very excited. Yihua laughed. In the entire world, there are too few people who are able to make me lose. Aha, I am one of those people. That better be the case. Don't disappoint me too much. Yihua's hands were a bit itchy. The last time I used my full strength was with Yi Zizi. Today it seems like I have to do it again. I'm a bit excited. Donghuang Baiji was still a bit worried about her husband. She said tenderly, Yihua, be careful. And sit here and wait for me. Wait for you? Donghuang Baiji asked confusedly. Chapter 7:16. Donghuang Baiji understood and obediently sat at the side, waiting for her husband's triumphant return. Meanwhile, Yihua casually waved his hand, and all of the people in the surroundings disappeared, leaving behind only the tattered Namo flag and Kai Yun. It wasn't that Yihua had teleported them away, but rather he had created an illusory realm that was exactly the same as Yihua and Kai Yun. In Donghuang Baiji's eyes, they were still sitting there, just that Yihua and Kai Yun had disappeared. Right now, Wuqi's brows were slightly wrinkled. Since Yihua wasn't around, Donghuang Baiji's position as the empress quietly spread out. It seemed to be saying, if you dare to make a move, don't blame me for making a move. The atmosphere seemed to freeze in an instant. Lucifer, who was sitting at the side, did not say a word. He picked up his chopsticks and ate. You guys can argue. I can't see anything, I can't hear anything. Just leave obediently later. At this moment, in the illusion, Yihua looked at Kai Yun and Kai Yun looked at Yihua angrily. The two of them stared at each other as if they were comparing whose doom stare was more powerful. After quite a while, Yihua felt that he was very stupid to actually compare eyes with a child. You are very formidable. Kai Yun gradually retracted his smile, and his expression became deep as he slowly landed not far away from Yihua. Such a Kai Yun caused Yihua to go into a slight daze. As expected, that frivolous appearance of his was just an act. I know, I don't need you to remind me, Yihua said faintly. The corner of Kai Yun's mouth twitched. He had really never seen such an arrogant person before. His eyelids drooped as he made a face. I don't believe you. Looking at Kai Yun, who was making a funny face at him, Yihua felt that it would be better to change her character setting to that of a Chinibu girl. Then come. My time is very precious. Yihua said lightly, then waved his hand. Many illusory images could be seen appearing in the surroundings, and as Yihua's fingers moved, the illusory images could be seen rolling about. All of them were weapons and equipment. Looking at Yi Hua's actions, Kai Yun was shocked for a moment, and then he shouted out loudly. "You, do you even need to wear equipment? You can wear it too," Yi Hua said faintly. Kai Yun pursed her small lips. "But I didn't. If that's the case, I'll lend you one then. Don't say that I'm bullying you," Yi Hua said faintly. "Really? This is great." Kai Yun happily ran towards Yi Hua and began choosing his equipment. He was really dazzled by the choices. "This color is too bright. It doesn't suit me. This definitely won't look good on me. It's like bearing fangs and brandishing claws. This is too revealing. I'm still a kid. This looks really heavy. It will definitely slow me down in battle." Yi Hua's expression gradually darkened and he couldn't help but shout out, "Do you want it or not? Stop grumbling. Don't scold me, I will choose, all right?" Kai Yun pouted her small mouth, then pointed at a thin armor. "This is it." Yi Hua did not say anything. With a wave of his hand, the golden leather silk covered Kai Yun's body. "Wow, it's really beautiful." Kai Yun spun around happily and then asked, "Is it nice?" Yi Hua replied faintly, "Average." "It's obviously pretty." Kai Yun pouted. He actually took out his phone and stood at the side to take a selfie, even showing a peace sign. Yi Hua was a bit gloomy. This golden leather silk is a pretty good prehistoric artifact. Its defensive function isn't that great, but against fire attribute attacks, it is able to achieve an astonishing effect. This also means that my deviant fire won't be able to deal any destructive damage to her. I, the Supreme Overlord, actually shot myself in the foot again. Cool. It will be even better if I lose later on. This Flagmaster's luck is too good, it's really inexplicable. For himself, Yi Hua chose an armor that had an ordinary defense, but a powerful magic defense armor. The armor was called Mu Wangjia. The entire armor covered him from head to toe. The color was rather good, and there was also a cape on his back showing off his heroic spirit. Right now he had to choose a weapon that matched with this armor. "Wow, so handsome." Kai Yun kept his phone and looked towards Yi Hua and couldn't help but praise. "I know, there's no need to remind me," Yi Hua replied faintly. Kai Yun looked at the golden leather silk that he was wearing, and seemed to be a bit dissatisfied. Then, "Can I change into a more handsome one?" "No." Yi Hua immediately rejected. "Since you got it, it is your good fortune, you should properly cherish this good fortune." "I'm stingy." "You." Yi Hua's nose became crooked from anger. "I gave you equipment to wear, and you still say that I am stingy." Seeing that Yi Hua was angry, Kai Yun was very happy and bounced around. "Hurry up, I still want to play games." Yi Hua grabbed onto one of the axes. When Yi Hua took out the axes, the scene immediately pervaded out with ghostly wails and wolf howls. Countless resentful spirits spread out in all directions and floated in the sky. What kind of weapon is this?" Kai Yun sensed the hostility of those resentful spirits, and thus he asked curiously. "Soul-devouring Buddha glaze," Yi Hua said faintly. "This is a prehistoric artifact that collects resentful spirits. Every time a person is killed, the soul will be imprisoned within the axe, and the soul will become its slave and fight for it. Therefore, this is a prehistoric artifact that has no moral bottom line. The person who created this artifact is not a good person, he is simply a scum. At least, this is what I, the Supreme Overlord, think so." Kai Yun looked at the sky and felt the helplessness of those resentful spirits, then said faintly, "You are so evil to actually use this kind of weapon." "Yi Hua, this isn't mine. But you are using it. What's wrong with me using it? That's why you are evil." "Yi Hua, I feel that I am unable to communicate with this girl anymore. Generation gap, a deep generation gap." Looking at Kai Yun's disdainful gaze, Yi Hua kept the soul-devouring Buddha glaze. "This Supreme Overlord isn't someone that a brat like you can look down on." Seeing that Yi Hua kept the soul-devouring Buddha glaze, Kai Yun grinned. Meanwhile, Yi Hua casually chose a machete that was emitting a silver light. That ferocious blade was rather scary. "Wow, what is this?" Kai Yun couldn't help but ask. Yi Hua felt that he was going to be tortured to death by Kai Yun. "Why do you have so many questions?" "I'm just curious," Kai Yun said softly while tiptoeing. Looking at Kai Yun's wronged look, Yi Hua said faintly, "This machete's name is Invincible. What use does it have?" Kai Yun asked curiously. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth slightly rose. "Hee, why don't you ask me how I am going to spank your butt later on? If you don't want to say, then don't say. You even spank my butt, shameless, I will tell your wife." "Yi Hua, are you still going to spank me or not?" Yi Hua couldn't help but shout out. This Kai Yun has already successfully enraged me. Spank, 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 I also want to unsheath my weapon. Right after Kai Yun finished speaking, 2 long swords appeared in his hands. The 2 swords were red and blue, and the swords were slightly shorter than ordinary long swords. However, Yi Hua felt that the swords weren't normal. Seeking monthly votes? Chapter 717. The 2 swords, one red and one blue, were slightly shorter than ordinary long swords, but Yi Hua felt that they were unusual. What is this? Yi Hua asked. Tisk, tsk, I'm not telling you. Kai Yun stuck out her tongue, looking as if she wanted to anger him to death. Looking at Kai Yun's cheeky smile, Yi Hua felt that he was going to explode from anger. Kai Yun pouted. Seeing that you're so angry, I'll be merciful and tell you. No need, I don't want to listen to it right now. Yi Hua gradually stabilized his state of mind. My state of mind was actually affected by a little girl. This is truly strange. Could it be that this was the innate talent of her race? Ever since the original body saw her, he had been led around by her. There were even a few times when he almost couldn't help but make a move. Thinking up to here, Yi Hua's heart became slightly heavy. An innate talent that is able to affect a person's state of mind? This is a bit interesting. After all, if one's state of mind was affected in battle, the consequences would be very bad. One would not be able to display their full strength. Kai Yun snorted. That won't do. I want to tell you. Along with Kai Yun's words, Yi Hua felt that his heart became a lot more irritable, just like how he would treat a disobedient child. He wanted to whip her and fiercely teach her a lesson on how to be an obedient girl. Yi Hua didn't make a sound as he tightly held onto the invincible great sword in his hand. The silver light that was being emitted from the invincible great sword was getting more and more intense, which represented that Yi Hua's anger was getting bigger and bigger. This undefeatable daimyo was very unique. The greater the anger of the wielder, the more berserk the might of the undefeatable daimyo would be. The undefeatable daimyo that Yi Hua unintentionally took out just happened to be suitable for this battle. Because it was just as Yi Hua had thought, Kai Yun's race's innate skill was precisely to affect a person's state of mind, causing them to be unable to fight with a peace of mind. Although compared to the 5 Flags race's innate skill in a high-level battle, the slightest bit of inattentiveness would be able to determine one's life and death. This was a powerful passive talent. My twin swords are called Red Fang and Blue Heavy. You have to be careful. Kai Yun revealed out a ghastly smile, causing Yi Hua's mood to become a bit gloomy. Towards the change in his mood, Yi Hua felt helpless. In the past, when he was fighting, his heart would be as calm as still water, and there would not be any ripples in his heart. However, today his heart was filled with different kinds of emotions, and this was not a good thing. Yi Hua snorted coldly, then waved the name Undefeated in his hand. Boom. The entire Nanwoo flag was split in half by the slash. The neat cut line was breathtaking. It was like cutting tofu. Just like that, the 2 of them floated in the air. Meanwhile, Kai Yun watched as his nameless flag descended, kicking up a huge cloud of dust. Although he knew that it was fake, he still felt very displeased, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. You pay. Kai Yun shouted out, and her body suddenly burst forth as she charged towards Yi Hua. Humph! You came just in time, let me teach you how to be an honest girl. Yi Hua's right hand shook, and the invincible daimyo's blade chi suddenly burst out, bringing along a surging aura as it attacked towards Kai Yun. Kai Yun completely disregarded this aura and directly dispersed it, and the red-toothed blue sword in his hand slashed straight toward Yi Hua. Yi Hua's gaze sunk. This Kai Yun's target is actually the undefeated daimyo in my hands? What does this mean? Shouldn't she be attacking him directly? With doubt in his heart, Yi Hua waved the invincible great name that was in his hand, and the invincible great name that was shining with a silver splendor was like a rainbow, and the invincible great name sliced through the clouds. Clang. The 2 top-notch weapons clashed together and huge ripples appeared. The entire ground was unable to withstand such an aura, and signs of cracking began to appear. This was also the reason why Yi Hua wanted to come to the illusory realm to fight. If it was in the real world, the losses that would be caused would be extremely huge and even a lot of lives would be lost. Yi Hua also didn't want innocent humans to die in the battle between him and Kai Yun. This first clash allowed Yi Hua to have a slight understanding of Kai Yun's battle strength. However, wasn't it the same for Kai Yun as well? The 2 of them were both probing each other. Yi Hua felt that this Kai Yun was very strong, to the extent that he could even be compared with Yi Zizi. As expected of a figure from the ancient era, he is really not bad. Just as Yi Hua was guessing, the invincible daimyo on his right hand seemed to have become a bit heavier. At the very least, the weight was much heavier than before. What kind of situation is this? While Yi Hua was absent-minded, Kai Yun shouted out in a low voice, "Heaven-soaring cannon." A terrifying energy could be seen gathering in Kai Yun's small mouth, and before Yi Hua could react, the pure white heaven-soaring cannon smashed onto the Reverend King's armor that Yi Hua was wearing. The Reverend King's armor that was intersecting with gold and red instantly absorbed quite a lot of energy, but Yi Hua was still sent flying by this terrifying energy and fiercely smashed onto the surface of the ground. This degree of impact was not inferior to the fall of a meteor, and everything within a circumference of 100 miles was affected by the impact, causing the ground to tremble violently. Kai Yun stood in the air and lowered his head to look at the huge crater, his face filled with excitement. He shouted out, "Continuous heaven-soaring cannon. Pu piu piu." A series of heaven-soaring cannons shot out from Kai Yun's small mouth and smashed onto the surface of the ground. The intensity of the attacks caused cracks to appear on the surface of the ground, like valleys, as if the entire continent was going to be separated. Kai Yun, who was in the midst of excitement, suddenly paused. He felt that there was great danger behind him, and his body actually turned 180 degrees. However, his head didn't turn and his red teeth and blue armor blocked in front of him. Yi Hua held onto his blade with both hands and fiercely chopped down. Bang! Yi Hua's indignant strike caused Kai Yun's small figure to plummet down like a meteor, and a mountain range seemed to have been chiseled under Kai Yun's impact. Stretching out his index finger, Yi Hua said faintly, "Bone Crusher." With a swoosh, a silver thread shot out from Yi Hua's index finger, and the silver thread was completely invisible to the naked eye. This silver thread attacked toward Kai Yun's small figure, and Kai Yun also felt the danger. He immediately stabilized his body, and the red teeth that was in his left hand pierced toward the silver thread that was coming at him. The silver thread was like a noodle that was split into two, and under the attack of the red teeth, it wasn't able to release any effect. Meanwhile, Yi Hua, who was standing in the air, didn't have a good expression on his face, because the undefeated great name on his right hand had become heavier again. Why is it like this? Just what kind of effect does her weapon have, to actually be able to make my weapon heavier? Kai Yun slowly floated up and asked curiously, "Don't you feel that your weapon has become heavier?" "I know that you are curious, that's why I didn't tell you." After finished speaking, Kai Yun instantly attacked, and his target was still the undefeated great name that was in Yi Hua's hand. Yi Hua, who was in close combat, only knew how to hack and slash, and he didn't know how to use other martial techniques. However, even if it was a technique like hacking and slashing, Yi Hua was still able to send Kai Yun flying earlier. If Kai Yun learned martial techniques, he wouldn't have just sent Kai Yun flying earlier. I, the Supreme Overlord, was only doing close combat for fun. After all, close combat is still very fun. I am used to long-range combat and I need to change my taste. Ghost 8 consecutive slash. Kai Yun decided not to tell Yi Hua. Just now, I was going to tell Yi Hua out of goodwill, and yet Yi Hua still had that disdainful look on his face. Damn it. The red teeth and blue teeth shone brightly, and an enormous rumbling sound rang out. Kai Yun's speed could be seen to be frighteningly fast, and he disappeared from his original spot. Yi Hua's state of mind was a bit unstable, and it was all caused by Kai Yun. Without thinking too much, Yi Hua directly slashed toward his back. Chapter 7:18. Boom. A powerful shockwave suddenly erupted, and within a circumference of 100 miles, there was no longer a single piece of flat land. Yi Hua felt that the invincible name in his hands had become a bit heavier, and he even had to use more strength to hold onto it. However, Kai Yun's attacks were getting faster and faster, and Yi Hua had to expend a lot of effort to hold onto it. Because of the weight, Yi Hua's speed was affected, and even his movements of swinging his sword had become a lot slower. This Kai Yun has some skills. Are you unable to pick up your sword soon? Kai Yun leaped backwards and looked towards Yi Hua with a sly smile on his face. Yi Hua was indeed having a hard time holding onto the invincible name in his hands. Every time they collided, the weight of his weapon would multiply. This multiplying effect was very terrifying. It wasn't as simple as 1 + 1. Yi Hua felt that if he were to put down the sword in his hands, it would directly pierce through the ground. It was too heavy. Kai Yun brandished the blue sword in his hands and said with a light smile, "As long as my weapon comes into contact with your sword, it will multiply the weight of your sword until you can't pick it up anymore." Furthermore, it seems like you can't pick it up anymore if you touch it again. He. Hearing Kai Yun's words, Yi Hua thought to himself, as expected, this kind of weapon is still very rare. What a rare ancient artifact. Yi Hua said faintly, then you might not know, but I have countless of weapons like this. Kai Yun was confused. The invincible name in Yi Hua's hands disappeared, and a jet-black spear appeared in his hands. Broken pulse. Yi Hua held onto the spear with both hands, and the ancient artifact in his hands released a radiance that belonged to it. Acting shamelessly against a brat, shame on you? Kai Yun made a face at Yi Hua. Yi Hua's state of mind was affected again, and he said gravely, there's no need to talk about feelings with a brat like you. TSK, then I'll let you continue to change weapons until you don't have any left. Kai Yun shouted, and his figure once again burst forth. His target was still the broken pulse in Yi Hua's hands. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth raised into a trace of a smile, and the tip of the spear pressed straight towards the blue sword in Kai Yun's right hand. At this moment, Kai Yun was a little confused. The other party clearly knows the advantage of my weapon, so why did he reveal such a big flaw and even directly attack me? Although he was confused, Kai Yun didn't think too much, and the blue sword in his right hand directly stabbed towards the broken pulse. The collision of the weapons once again erupted with a terrifying aura, and the ground was once again deeply sunk by this powerful pressure. Kai Yun's face was filled with shock as he looked at Yi Hua. Yi Hua sneered, your blue heavy vein is indeed very rare, but the broken vein in my hands is not bad either. It can devour all weapon abilities. Although it has also become heavier, your blue weight should have also become heavier. You're so sly. I don't like you. Kai Yun was very angry, but in his heart, he marveled at the other party's capital. Where did he get so many good things? If he could snatch them all, wouldn't that be great? I don't need your love. Yi Hua took the initiative to attack. This time, it was Yi Hua's turn to aim at Kai Yun's Lan Zhong, while Kai Yun desperately protected Lan Zhong's right hand. However, no matter how they tried to protect themselves, it was inevitable that they would come into contact with each other. Thus, the heavy blue spear in Kai Yun's hands became heavier and heavier, and it was the same for Broken Meridian in Yi Hua's hands. However, what Yi Hua was competing with was his strong foundation. Thus, there was nothing for Yi Hua to worry about. You're shameless. Kai Yun, panting with rage, began to shoot his mouth off again. Yi Hua couldn't be bothered with Kai Yun and continued to attack. After a short while, Kai Yun directly kept his blue heavy vein. I truly can't hold it anymore, and yet this man in front of me actually still has the strength to hold it. Yi Hua looked at Kai Yun keeping his blue heavy vein, then kept his broken vein as well. However, this time he didn't take out his weapon. Just now, I just wanted to teach this girl who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. Seeing that Yi Hua didn't take out his weapon, Kai Yun asked confusedly, are you going to raise your hands and surrender? You might not know, but what I specialize in isn't weapons but my hands. Yi Hua slowly stretched out his hands and 10 different kinds of deviant flames appeared on his 10 fingers. Looking at the deviant flames on Yi Hua's fingers, Kai Yun became grave. Why do you have so many deviant flames? Become my underling, I'll tell you. Yi Hua said indifferently. Kai Yun shouted out, her small face a bit sinister, who wants to become your underling? I'm going to hack you to death. Yi Hua didn't block and he didn't even take any defensive measures. The red tooth in Kai Yun's hand directly pierced onto the Reverend King's armor. Kai Yun's small face was filled with excitement. You were too careless. You are about to die. As long as my red tooth continuously attacks the same spot, the target will be shattered into pieces. You can give it a try. Yi Hua said lightly. That indifferent tone caused Kai Yun to become angry. Don't look down on me. I am the flag master of South Wuxia. Kai Yun, who was in anger, once again shot out this sword, and this time, it pierced onto the same spot. The Reverend King's armor that Yi Hua was wearing could be seen releasing a blood-red brilliance, and then the Reverend King's armor fell off like pieces. It must be said that Kai Yun's red tooth was indeed very powerful. Both of them were ancient artifacts, and her red tooth was able to easily shatter the Reverend King's armor. Of course, this was also because Yi Hua intentionally allowed her to shatter the Reverend King's armor. His goal was to tell her what true strength was. You are looking down on me? How boring. Kai Yun seemed to have already seen Yi Hua shattering into pieces. Right now, Yi Hua was still in human form, but gradually the flesh and blood on his body disappeared, and his original body was revealed. His pair of empty eyes were emitting out red light. Yi Hua could be heard saying lightly, A mere South Wuxia dares to be impudent in front of me. Do you know who I am? I am the source of power, the representative of strength, the spokesperson of terror, and the creator of despair. Why didn't you disappear? Kai Yun looked at the skeleton in front of him and was stupefied. This is completely impossible. After being attacked by the Red Tooth twice, even if it was the Emperor, he would still be shattered into pieces. Yet this man. It was just that the armor was shattered. Disappear? Even if the world disappears, I will still be alive, little girl with long hair and short knowledge. Yi Hua said lightly. Right now his state of mind was like water and he was not affected by Kai Yun at all. Hearing Yi Hua's mockery, Kai Yun's beautiful little face began to distort, and her small body grew by quite a bit. I'm going to kill you. Kai Yun roared towards the sky. The terrifying spiritual energy was completely out of control. The ground was sinking and the clear sky became dark. From time to time, shocking thunder would sound out. Kai Yun waved the red tooth in her hand and slashed towards Yi Hua. Yi Hua did not have any defensive equipment on him and right now he did not release any spells either. Then he slowly stretched out his hand. Bang! Those 5 eerie white fingers actually grabbed onto the red tooth. Kai Yun was stupefied. This man actually used his bare hands to catch the white tooth. Just what kind of undead is he? Chapter 719. Yi Hua tightly gripped onto Red Tooth, and his pair of empty eyes looked towards Kai Yun. Are you curious as to why I, as an undead, am so strong? I can tell you that I don't know either. After Yi Hua finished speaking, his right hand directly grabbed onto Kai Yun's neck. Yi Hua shouted out, Kunli karmic fire. Green flames emerged from Yi Hua's palm and instantly enveloped Kai Yun's body, turning him into a green flaming man. Let me go. You shameless undead. Kai Yun struggled violently, but Yi Hua's 5 fingers were tightly gripping onto Kai Yun's neck. A gloomy voice came out from Yi Hua's mouth. You should feel fortunate that the golden leather silk that you are wearing has allowed you to withstand some of the damage, but this is just for a moment. Bastard. Kai Yun punched and kicked at Yi Hua's skeletal body. Don't waste your energy. Do you know the effect of the Kunli Karma fire? It can prevent you from releasing any spiritual energy. Right now, you are just the most ordinary little girl. After Yi Hua finished speaking, he stretched out his left hand and flicked Kai Yun's forehead. Shameless. I don't like to play with you. Kai Yun was still struggling, and the golden leather silk that was on her body was currently being burned and was gradually melting. Yi Hua said indifferently, Be my little brother, and I will spare your life. I don't want to be your little brother, no. Kai Yun continued to struggle, and the clothes on his body instantly turned into ashes, revealing his underdeveloped small body. Yi Hua wasn't interested in her at all. She is simply a minor. Compared to my lovely wife, she isn't even worth looking at. Under the Kunli karmic fire, you don't even have the chance to return to your original form. What right do you have to fight with me? Me? If you have the ability, let me go. As long as I use my main body, you're finished. Kai Yun was very unconvinced. This man actually had so many deviant flames. It must be known that even in the prehistoric era, deviant flames were extremely rare existences. This thing was a heaven-defying existence. As you wish. Kunli Karma fire was instantly retracted by Yi Hua, and then Kai Yun's small body was tossed out. Kai Yun's small body was truly lacking in both chest and buttocks. Her figure was even worse than Yi Zizi's. Kai Yun didn't have any intention of being shy and glared at Yi Hua angrily. I will let you take a look at my true form. Don't be so scared that you pee in your pants. It better be so. You don't have anywhere to pee anyway. Yi Hua, as a skeleton, it didn't seem like it needed to pee. Suddenly, Kai Yun's body began to swell up. This sort of swell would make one shiver in fear. His entire belly swelled outwards and his head and limbs seemed to be wrapped inside. The color of his body was also changing like the volcanic rocks with shades of gray and black. Yi Hua silently looked at Kai Yun's main body. This flag master is indeed very powerful. The strength of this main body was enough to fight against his 7 deadly sins. Taking him in as a follower would not be considered a loss of face. It was just that his figure was a little lacking. However, Yi Zizi should also be very happy. After all, there was a girl with a worse figure than her. Otherwise, Yi Zizi would always complain that she couldn't grow up. Wave after wave of boundless aura spiraled around the world, and it seemed as if the entire world was going to collapse. Yi Hua even felt that the illusory realm was a little unable to hold on any longer, and he could only increase the strength of the illusory realm. Yihua was very satisfied with Kei's strength. Coupled with those strange subordinates of hers, they were a pretty good force. Looking at all of the open clouds, it was like the moon hanging in the sky. It really was rather similar. Suddenly, a gigantic eye opened. It was indeed as Yi Zizi had described, it was indeed very frightening. Imagining the moon opening its eyes, it really caused one's scalp to go numb. Ah, you are dead for sure. And you still want me to be a follower? No way. Kai Yun laughed loudly, and that loud and clear voice seemed as if it was transmitted to outer space. Yihua asked faintly, "Is this all of your strength? What? Did you get scared by me? Let me tell you, I can insta-kill you. You are finished." Facing the gigantic Kai Yun, Yihua was just like a small dot, too insignificant. Insta-kill me? Where did your confidence come from? Yihua could be seen clapping his hands. Green-colored Kunli Karma fire appeared on his left hand, while purple-colored Firmament Ghost fire appeared on his right hand. Your deviant flames are no longer effective against me. Looking at the two types of deviant flames in Yihua's hands, Kai Yun was a little worried, wondering if his main body would be able to withstand them. In the past, I felt that deviant flames couldn't be fused, but my daughter did it. Fuse with deviant flames? Ah, what kind of joke are you playing? Kai Yun let out a mocking voice. Fusing with deviant flames was rather dangerous. If one's control was slightly off, one would suffer a backlash. Do I look like someone who jokes around? Hearing Yihua's words, Kai Yun's gigantic eye revealed fear. Because Yihua's hands started to close. The hell, we can talk things out, there is no need for you to die together with me. Kai Yun was a little afraid. It's fine if you want to commit suicide, but I still want to play top. Yihua ignored him. Kai Yun, who was currently fusing with the deviant flames, was scared to the point that he was trembling. This man is crazy. This man is definitely crazy. Let me be your follower, alright? Don't give up on yourself like this, isn't it just a fight? Don't kill someone. Kai Yun was terrified because he sensed the strong aura being emitted out by the deviant flames. If I were to explode, I will definitely die. I'm not an elemental race. If I die, then I will really die. Don't be noisy. Yihua shouted out gravely. This was the first time he was trying to fuse with the deviant flames, and it was indeed a little scary. Kai Yun reminded in a low voice. Be careful then, think about your child, think about your wife. Yihua, who was fusing with the deviant flames, felt the difficulty. Ali is able to fuse with the deviant flames at such a young age. As Ali's father, how can I not be able to do it? There is nothing in this world that I, the Supreme Overlord, cannot do it. Seeing that Yihua was going to use brute force to fuse with the deviant flames, Kai Yun was scared to the point that he immediately changed back into the body of a little girl. Big brother, don't forget it, let's go out to eat, let's not fight anymore. Shut up. Yihua shouted out angrily. I won't fight anymore, alright? I will give you whatever you want. I have only been out for a few months and I didn't think that I would be gone again. After finished speaking, Kai Yun actually started bawling loudly. He was simply so sad that he was about to die. This man is actually risking his life for no reason. It would be fine if you are risking your life. Why are you dragging me along? Yihua ignored Kai Yun and recalled the path of experience that Ali had told him. Following what his daughter said, Yihua became more cautious. This caused Kai Yun, who was bawling loudly, to stop crying, because the two deviant flames had become a little more stable. They were no longer as berserk as before and seemed like they would explode at any moment. Be careful. Add a bit more to this side. There is a bit less over there. Chapter 720. Yihua glared at Kai Yun furiously. Shut up. Kai Yun lowered his head and pursed his lips, not saying a word. Even if he couldn't, he still had to forcefully fuse with her. It looked like his daughter was even stronger than him. She was really too weak. After who knew how much time had passed, Kai Yun had already fallen asleep while lying in the void. Fusing with otherworldly flames was not something that could be done in a short while. Outside the illusion, everyone was still waiting. Donghuang Baiji was very anxious. Why hasn't my husband appeared yet? If the one who appears first is that flag master. The more Donghuang Baiji thought about it, the more afraid Donghuang Baiji became. If Yihua were to know how worried his wife was about him, he would definitely knock on the Empress's forehead. To think that you have so little confidence in me. Go back and serve me in torture. Right now, Five Flags was really worried about their flag master, wondering if something would happen to him. Especially Yu Hua, she couldn't sit still. Lucifer, who was sitting below, was even more so. If you immortals were to fight, don't drag a mortal like me into it. Lucifer plucked up his courage and said, about that. I have also finished my meal and I forgot to turn off the gas at my house. Is it possible? The impatient Moonlight looked at Lucifer coldly, and the latter was so scared that he trembled. Get lost. Yu Hua shouted coldly. Hearing Yu Hua's words, Lucifer felt that he would be able to go back and turn off the gas today. All right, scram immediately. Lucifer and Miller didn't even think about it. They immediately spread their wings and flew away without a care for their lives. This meal was really frightening. In the future, it was better to keep a low profile and not stand out. Even if they were strong, they had to hide it. Who knew if there was someone even stronger? Thus, only Voidless Realm and South Wuxia's people were left, and they were waiting anxiously. The sun gradually set, and darkness enveloped the earth. However, they had not come out yet. In the illusory realm, it was still daytime. After all, it was an illusion. The alternation of day and night could not be replicated. Right now, Yi Hua was still trying to fuse them together, and he did not give up. Kai Yun, who was bored, turned his body sideways and looked at Yi Hua with his forehead open. From time to time he would scratch his ears. Boss, forget it. I won't tell anyone. Kai Yun said softly. This fusion of deviant flames was something that could not be done without a few hundred years. He did not want to lie in this illusion for a few hundred years. Call me Your Honor. Yi Hua said indifferently. All right, Your Honor, stop messing around. Kai Yun begged bitterly. He still wanted to increase his score. If he really waited for a few hundred years, would there still be that kind of game? Yi Hua glared at Kai Yun. As a subordinate, you should act like a subordinate. I have never been a subordinate before, how would I know? Kai Yun pouted his mouth. This is too much of a bully. While Yi Hua was fusing with the deviant flames, Yi Hua asked curiously, how did the two of you get captured? Your Honor, are you going to take revenge for me? Kai Yun's eyes lit up, and he felt that there was hope. If you perform well, I can consider it. Really? Yi Hua replied casually. Recalling the matters from a long time ago, Kai Yun pouted and said, we're people from the primordial era. Yi Hua remained silent and listened attentively. Your Honor, let me tell you, you have never seen the people from the Great Desolate Era. Every single one of them is extremely ferocious, and they fight and play every day. Furthermore, all of them are the type that don't want to sleep, and furthermore, they don't even have a wheat whirlwind to eat. Get to the point. A few black lines appeared on Yi Hua's forehead. I'm sorry, I was just sighing with emotion. Every single one of the people from the Great Desolate Era are very strong, and they are also very huge. For example, we are only the rulers of a small corner in the south. Although it is only a small corner, it is much bigger than this place. Yi Hua asked, what level of strength does the two of you belong to in the Great Desolate Era? Actually, I'm not too sure either. Let's just talk about that small corner. The distribution of power there is very big, and we are all very powerful existences there. If the two of you are so powerful, how did you get sealed? Yi Hua asked curiously. Didn't I say it already? That is only a small corner. I don't know which bastard snitched on us, and then a group of people came over. We fought with them and forced them to retreat, and then 3 people came over. In order to protect me, they sealed me, and then they were captured. Kai Yun said angrily. If those 3 people were still alive, I would definitely kill them. They actually dared to bully my subordinates. Captured? Yi Hua asked curiously. Kai Yun nodded his head. I heard from them that after they were captured, they were tortured and forced to tell me about my whereabouts. However, they didn't say anything. I'm so touched. However, those people were unable to kill my subordinates, and thus they sealed them up. Why did they want to capture you? Yi Hua was puzzled, feeling that the matter wasn't that simple. How would I know? In any case, the Great Desolate Era is long gone, and what's left are only some Great Desolate Era's godly beasts and ferocious beasts. Kai Yun spread out his hands, indicating that there was no way for him to find someone to take revenge on. Yi Hua could be considered to have a rough understanding of the Great Desolate Era. However, the Great Desolate Era was already a thing of the past, and there was no use in understanding it. That subordinate of yours, if it was in the situation of a vacuum, would he have died? Yi Hua asked curiously. When Yi Hua said this, Kai Yun's expression changed. Looking at Kai Yun's expression, Yi Hua knew that he had guessed correctly. Although that Yu Hua is in the form of water, if she is sucked by Yi Zizi, she should also die, right? There's also that Luo Ho. Yi Hua said one after another, causing Kai Yun to feel very bad, as if Yi Hua had caught hold of his weakness. Seeing that Kai Yun was unhappy, Yi Hua said calmly, "In the future they will all be my subordinates, I naturally won't harm them, and I will keep this a secret for you." "Really? Your Honor, can you keep this a secret?" Kai Yun said excitedly. Towards his subordinates, Kai Yun was especially protective, and this could be seen from the matter that he reminded Luo Ho. "I never lie," Yi Hua said solemnly. However, Kai Yun believed Yi Hua. "Your Honor, then, can you tell me why are you so powerful?" Kai Yun asked curiously. He also wanted to increase his strength, only then would he be able to protect his subordinates. Yi Hua let out a light breath, then said calmly, "If you are able to watch Calabash Brothers save Grandpa for 12 hours a day and persevere for 3 years, you will also be able to become as powerful as me." "Calabash Brothers save Grandpa? What is that? I want to watch it too." Kai Yun was very excited. "Is it that simple? To express that I can do it too." However, Kai Yun did not even manage to persevere for a week. "I can't bear to watch it anymore. Watching the same thing every single time is simply a type of torture. When the time comes, I will go out and tell you. And Your Honor, you are the best," Kai Yun said happily. Yi Hua was a little gratified. "It's good that you know. I treat my subordinates very well and I often pull strings for them." Chapter 721. Yi Hua felt that it was better not to harm the good girl. Do you still not know about Lai Gu's personality? He liked everyone he saw. Back then he loved those 3 celebrities to death. Now that it had been a long time, it was boring. It was a common problem for men. Seeing Yi Hua's ability, how could he not jump? Although I should take care of my subordinates, but right now Yi Hua is also my subordinate, I can't harm Yi Hua. Yi Hua is such a good girl, but for the sake of my boss she was tortured and extorted, yet she didn't reveal a single word. Such a woman is a good woman. Letting Lai Gu marry him was truly a bit of a loss. Wei Chang, that kind of honest and sincere person, was more like it. Honorable Lai Gu, is Lai Gu such a person in your heart? Lai Gu is so sad, I really want to cry. No wonder Your Honor didn't help Lai Gu and gave it to someone else. Yi Hua paused for a moment. Forget about this, let them do as they please. Your Honor, are you really not going to consider it? Yi Hua is very family-oriented, and she's a good woman. She's worth 100 men. Kai Yun was practically like a salesman, trying his best to promote the moonlight flower. Especially when he said that one could be used for 100 times, even I was a little moved. However, upon thinking about the 2 shrews and the sister-in-law that I have at home, I decided to forget about it. I, the Supreme Overlord, don't have the time to quarrel with them. Furthermore, it is because of a strange woman that I am not familiar with. Alright, this matter ends here. Don't mention it again. I'm really a bit envious of Ali's talent. As expected of the child born from my bloodline and the Eastern Emperor's bloodline. Since young, Ali has always been a bug. Kai Yun even wanted to sell Moonlight to his honor, but I feel that his honor doesn't like Moonlight at all. If Yi Hua knew that her flag owner was trying so hard to promote her, she would definitely cry in anger. Your Honor, do you have any other subordinates? Shut up. Yes, in the future speak less and do more. Yi Hua reminded. This Kai Yun is too talkative. Oh, got it. Kai Yun lowered her head and circled around Yi Hua. Her small mouth was smacking, seemingly wanting to move a lot. Looking at Kai Yun's appearance, Yi Hua said helplessly, "Speak. Your Honor, what is your blood type? Your Honor, what is your zodiac sign? Your Honor, what animals do you like? Your Honor, what do you like to eat for supper? Your Honor, do you like to eat crayfish?" Yi Hua. Under this kind of environment, Yi Hua was already unable to concentrate. Both of his hands immediately separated from each other and kept the 2 balls of deviant fire. His heart was filled with unwillingness. The fusion of the deviant flame was too difficult. Could it be because of his bloodline? Ali possessed 2 types of bloodlines and easily fused the deviant flame. His Honor, aren't you going to fuse with it? Kai Yun cried out in surprise and had a joyous look on his face. His Honor has finally given up, this is simply too great. Forget it, I will fuse with it next time. I have another trump card up my sleeves. Yi Hua said faintly, and a strong sense of confidence burst forth from his body. This stunned Kai Yun. There was actually something more powerful than strange fire. Your Honor, what kind of trump card is it? Can you tell me? Kai Yun asked curiously. You will know in the future. Of course, Yi Hua wouldn't tell Kai Yun about it. In fact, even his subordinates and his wife didn't know about it. This was an ability that he had obtained after his rebirth. It was so terrifying that even the main body was afraid of it. I, the Supreme Overlord, will never lie. Along with Yi Hua waving his hand, the illusion suddenly disappeared, and the two of them appeared in South Wuxia. When Donghuang Baiji saw that her husband had come out from the illusion, she immediately became extremely excited. Those few hours felt like a few years to her. I don't want to feel like this anymore, it is too scary. Yi Hua looked at Donghuang Baiji, who was running with tears of joy. Yi Hua slightly opened his arms and hugged onto Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua, kiss me. Donghuang Baiji wasn't shy and took the initiative to say. Yi Hua naturally wouldn't disappoint his wife and kissed onto Donghuang Baiji's soft cherry lips. When Kai Yun saw his honor and his wife hugging and kissing each other, he pouted his mouth. Flagmaster, how is the situation? Yi Hua asked concernedly while hugging onto the Flagmaster. This Flagmaster made a small mistake, Kai Yun said while stammering. He was a bit embarrassed. I actually lost. Furthermore, I lost along with my subordinates. This is so depressing. Yi Hua let out a sigh of relief. It's good that you are fine, it doesn't matter even if you lost. If Yi Hua were to find out that the Flagmaster had strongly recommended her in the illusion just now, she would definitely be angry. But I have a bet with him. If I were to lose, I would have to. Kai Yun, this clever little fellow, started tricking his subordinates. Flagmaster, it doesn't matter, we will forever be your subordinates. Yi Hua said respectfully. Bai Gu, who was at the back, also said respectfully, we will forever follow Flagmaster. We pledge our loyalty to you. Luo Ho shouted out in a low voice. I will forever follow Flagmaster. The scarecrow Guangsha followed up and said. Vow. Song Konghong said slowly. Kai Yun hurriedly stopped Song Konghong. Little Red, I know what you want to say. Song Konghong revealed out a grateful expression. Just that, her face was truly ugly, her facial features looked as if they were squeezed together. You all, come over here for a moment, we have to discuss a matter, we have to turn the tables. Kai Yun suddenly had a good idea. Right now, Yi Hua had already kissed the Empress to the point that her mind was in a mess. If there was a bed, Yi Hua would have definitely gotten onto it. Yi Hua, in the future, don't make me wait like this. Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. Fool, don't you know my strength? I knew that you like to act cool, I'm just afraid that you will end up getting F*cat instead. Yi Hua, this is a ridicule from my wife, and it is practically a critical hit. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and slapped towards the Empress's perky butt. Papa. This time, the Empress was finally embarrassed, and she buried her devastatingly beautiful face into her husband's embrace. You are really asking for a lesson to even dare to ridicule your husband. I, the Supreme Overlord, have never been F*cat instead when I act cool. Standing on the spot, Yi Hua looked at Kai Yun. Shouldn't you bring your subordinates over to pay respect to me? Looking at her husband's posture, Donghuang Baiji knew that Yi Hua had won. My man is too strong. Donghuang Baiji felt like she was being surrounded by a wave of happiness. If I regretted going to that bar a few years ago, then I was lucky right now. Back then, I walked into that bar, had a one-night stand with Yi Hua, and got together with Ali. Thinking about these things, Donghuang Baiji couldn't help but reveal out a light smile. Fate, this thing, who can say for sure. In the end, I still ended up walking together with Yi Hua. Although Yi Hua has all the bad habits that men have, Yi Hua is also changing himself. The main point is that Yi Hua loves me, and that is enough. Chapter 722. At this moment, Kai Yun brought along his subordinates and walked to the front of Yi Hua, then said respectfully, Your Honor, my subordinates wish to challenge you. Yi Hua slightly let go of Donghuang Baiji, and killing intent was emitting out from his eyes. This Kai Yun has already touched my bottom line. Just now, when I was in the illusory realm, I didn't say this. Say that one more time. Yi Hua's tone was cold, and even Lai Gu and Yi Zizi who were behind him changed. Although Lai Gu did like Yi Hua a bit, but that was only a favorable impression. However, when Yi Hua touched his honor's bottom line, Lai Gu did not give his honor any face. It is your honor that his honor took you in. Just accept it humbly. Kai Yun was completely confused and hurriedly explained, Your Honor, I didn't go back on my words. What I meant was, let's have another spar, and no matter who wins or loses, I will fulfill my promise. Hearing Kai Yun's words, Yi Hua retracted his killing intent a little. Let's pay our respects first. Kai Yun pursed his lips. What a petty man. He couldn't take it anymore. This subordinate is Kai Yun. We pay our respects to his honor. Kai Yun took the lead to pay his respects. However, the 5 flags at the back obeyed Kai Yun's words. They prostrated themselves on the ground and shouted, "Subordinates pay respect to the Supreme One." Comfortable. Yi Hua slightly raised his hand. "Get up." "Thank you, Your Honor." Yi Hua nodded his head. "Alright, how are we going to compete?" "Lord, please follow me." Kai Yun grinned, and with a respectful expression, he led the way into the roofless Great Hall. However, when Yi Hua brought his wife over to take a look, he saw that there were 5 computers placed at the center of the room. "Dang dang dang. Your Honor, let's fight." Bo 5-inch Yi Hua, Yi Zizi, who was standing behind them, immediately became interested. "What are we playing?" "It's League of Legends. We're 5v5, so our numbers are just right." Kai Yun waved his little hand and said excitedly. Yi Hua continued to be speechless. "Do I look so childish to you?" Bai Gu could be seen moving 5 computers over from God knows where, separating them in the middle and plugging in the power supply and internet cable. "Your Honor, please." Kai Yun pouted his small mouth and begged. Yi Zizi wasn't weak, she had never been afraid of anyone when playing games. "Your Honor, don't be afraid, I am here." Yi Hua judged in his heart. If I were to lose, wouldn't I lose a lot of face? If he won, he wouldn't feel any sense of accomplishment. But if I don't play, it would seem like I'm very petty. "Come at me then," Yi Hua said gravely. "In any case, I have played the game before, although I wasn't very good at it." "Yi Hua, I don't know how to play." Dong Huang Baiji, who had never played before, said in a low voice while standing beside Yi Hua. Yi Zizi suggested, "Your Honor, you can bring along your wife to play the bottom lane and leave the jungling to me." Lai Gu kept a straight face and had a look of, "I am an expert" on his face, but he did not speak. However, Lai Gu had never played before, but he mustn't lose in terms of aura. Death Mage hugged onto his death scythe and stood there silently. He also had the silence of an expert. Death Mage had played the mobile version before, but he had never played the PC version before. However, it should be about the same. On Kai Yun's side, they were currently discussing tactics. "Flag Master, that high school student seems to be very powerful. We'll target him later," Luo Ho whispered. "Lai Gu is going to be caught like a dog later on. This is the result of pretending to be an expert." Yu Hua said tenderly, "Flag Master, he is after all his honor. It is better for us to go easy on him." "What are you all talking about? Since his honor is so powerful, does he still need us to go easy on him?" Kai Yun was very tsundra. Using this chance to take revenge on his honor, this was the typical thoughts of a little girl. Just when Kai Yun and the others were discussing their strategy, Lai Gu walked over with a bottle of mineral water and said with a smile, "Yu Hua, are you thirsty? Here's some water." Yu Hua slowly raised her head and looked towards Lai Gu. "In any case, they are colleagues now, it's best for me to not make our relationship sour." "Thank you." Yu Hua took the bottle of mineral water from Lai Gu's hand. Lai Gu was very happy and he walked back with small steps just like a child. In actuality, Lai Gu used his body to conquer those 3 celebrities he had never dated before. However, Moonlight was different. Moonlight gave Lai Gu the feeling of first love. Seeing that Lai Gu was still interested in Yu Hua, Kai Yun asked towards Yu Hua, "Yu Hua, how do you feel about him?" "I don't feel anything," Yu Hua answered quickly and subconsciously. Luo Ho waved the folding fan in his hand and laughed, "But someone else is interested in you." Song Kong, who was sitting at the side, had a long face on his face. He seemed to be very unhappy and this long face made him even uglier. "Yu Hua, this man is actually quite good. He seems to be quite concerned about you." Kai Yun did not give up and tried his best to persuade her. Yu Hua seemed to understand Flag Master's meaning. She said faintly, "If Flag Master has the heart, Yu Hua will not say anything." Yu Hua, look at what you're saying. Feelings can't be forced. Let's play games, play games." Kai Yun's eyes flickered. Just now, Moonlight's resentment was very high, making this Flag Master feel very awkward, as if she was selling out her subordinates. Yu Hua pursed her lips and took a glance at Lai Gu. The latter was startled and immediately shifted his gaze away with a guilty look on his face. "Yu Hua, it seems like Lai Gu really likes the Yu Hua." Seeing Lai Gu's behavior, Dong Huang Baiji asked. Yi Hua was currently adjusting the keyboard and said faintly, "He just likes everyone that he sees." "Same as you," Dong Huang Baiji muttered. Yi Hua said lightly. "Since you said it like this, I can do it too." I'm just joking." No, no, no. Kiss me." "Annoying, there are so many subordinates here." "All the more reason for me to kiss you then." Hurry up, if not, I will also like everyone that I see. Alright, alright, alright. The Empress was helpless. To actually use such a thing to threaten your wife? Yi Hua is probably the only one in this world who would do such a thing. As the Empress turned her head around, Yi Hua impolitely kissed onto the Empress's cherry lips. Your Honor, Your Honor's wife, can we go back and kiss one more time? We're going to play games now. Yi Zizi couldn't help but remind. Dong Huang Baiji pinched her husband petulantly. Yi Hua had an indifferent look on his face. Right now his skin had become much thicker. The first round began. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji ran down the path, and the Empress was naturally the support. Baiji, go and check if there is anyone in the bushes. Yi Hua ordered. Other than sleeping, a wife can also be used to check the bushes. If not, what's the point of marrying a wife? Dong Huang Baiji naturally listened to her husband and controlled Wind Lady to check the bushes. However, 5 robust men were lying in ambush within the bushes. Wind Lady moaned weakly and gave a drop of blood. The Empress was stupefied. Yi Hua let out a breath. I knew that there was someone there. Luckily I didn't go there. Dong Huang Baiji, Yi Zizi, Lai Gu. Chapter 723. The 3 subordinates were very curious in their hearts. Why did your wife take a liking to his honor? My God, there is actually such a thing? The Empress was obviously a bit depressed after losing a drop of blood. She couldn't help but punch her husband. It's all your fault. You made me poke my face into the bushes. The match continued. On the other side was Luo Ho's policewoman and Yi Hua's normal A soldier. Placing the clip was also a normal operation, and the support was Sky Red's Japanese woman. Baiji, step on that clamp. Yi Hua began ordering again. What? It's very dangerous. Dong Huang Baiji was confused. What if I accidentally step on it? Dong Huang Baiji controlled Wind Maiden to step on the clip. Gotcha. Originally, the bottom lane was going to play peacefully with Soldier A. But seeing that Wind Girl had been caught, Hino reflexively flew over. Then the policewoman reflexively hit him. Yi Hua retreated on reflex. Dong Huang Baiji, The Wind Lady moaned weakly. Yi Hua said, I just knew that stepping on a clamp would cause me to die. Sure enough, that's the case. A few black lines appeared on Dong Huang Baiji's forehead. Dong Huang Baiji decided to ignore Yi Hua for now. Dong Huang Baiji, who had just been killed, became much more careful. Dong Huang Baiji hid behind Yi Hua, while Yi Hua hid behind the tower. The couple activated the tower defense mode. Yi Hua typed, wretched development. Right after they finished fighting, Lai Gu, who was on the top lane, was also sent to the battlefield. He was killed 3 times. Lai Gu was stupefied. Just how big of a grudge is this? Both the mid and jungler have come to capture me, and the jungler of the other party is even Moonlight. Lai Gu hurriedly typed, Yi Hua, can you not capture me? No, Yi Hua replied. At this time Yi Zizi hurriedly typed, please don't send me off. The competition had already been going on for 20 minutes, and Voidless Realm was only left with Highland Tower. Lai Gu had already been sent to the other side like a dog. Baiji, insert the eye. Yi Hua said gravely and was currently attentively patching the tower. I don't have money. Selling equipment for vision. Oh. In the end, as soon as the Empress sold her equipment, she bought a bag of goblins and ran out into the wild. With a helpless groan, the Empress had once again delivered her head. Yi Zizi covered her face. The gaming experience is extremely bad. Yi Hua secretly typed, let's go and steal the dragon, then we will be able to make a comeback. This idea was not bad, and it was unanimously approved by his subordinates. The 5 of them sneaked up to the big dragon and started fighting. Baiji, give yourself a shield, you are going to die. Yi Hua couldn't help but shout out. Just as he said that, the Empress once again let out a weak groan. She was killed by the dragon. However, due to the lack of equipment, it was very slow for South Wuxi's group to kill the dragon. South Wuxi's group also knew that his honor was stealing the dragon, and thus all of them rushed over, and then a voidless realm was annihilated, and not only did Nan Wuxi obtain the kill, he even managed to snatch the dragon. Yi Hua almost vomited blood from anger, and he even had the thought of smashing his computer. Baiji, why are you so noob? Yi Hua couldn't help but say. Empress felt wronged. I already said that I don't know how to play. Why don't you just listen to me? I died so many times because I listened to you. Just who is the noob here? The Empress was also angry. Yi Hua is too much of a bully. The three subordinates remained silent. His honor and his wife quarreled because they were playing a game. Yi Hua said angrily, "I won't be playing with you in the next round." "So be it then." Dong Huang Baiji snorted. This sentence was destined to be GG. After losing a round, Yi Hua was very unhappy, and he blamed the reason on his wife. Look at how good the support is at playing and how many assists there are. In the second round, Yi Hua chose to go top lane with Hand of Noxus, and Dong Huang Baiji chose to go top lane with Death Mage as her support. Yi Hua snorted, "Without you supporting me, look at how I carry the entire game. After finished speaking, I even flashed my card." "Humph," Dong Huang Baiji snorted and ignored Yi Hua. As expected, there isn't a single good man in games. Yi Hua naturally wouldn't go to the bushes after all, his wife wasn't by his side. Thus, he waited for the soldiers to come over before rushing out. Seeing that everyone else was online, he felt at ease. "Look, I will get the first kill," Yi Hua vowed. Dong Huang Baiji completely ignored him, causing Yi Hua to feel very gloomy. "I must definitely get the first kill for this woman to see." Thus, Yi Hua played very aggressively and the lane was also pushed over. Kai Yun, who was jungling, took the opportunity and went straight for the top lane. However, right at this moment, a kill came from the bottom lane. "Husband, I got the first kill." Dong Huang Baiji, who was in excitement, immediately shook her husband's arm, appearing very excited. However, at this moment, Kai Yun, this blind man, came over and directly threw a Q at Yi Hua's face. Yi Hua hurriedly blinked away, but the blind man immediately kicked him and slammed the ground. Yi Hua GG. Right now, Yi Hua's face was black. On the public chat. "Your Honor, be careful." Kai Yun was very proud of himself. Yi Hua, who was flustered and exasperated, said to the Empress who was beside him, "It's all your fault. You interfered with me just now. You caused me to die." Dong Huang Baiji pouted her mouth. "It's clearly your fault and you are still blaming me?" Seeing that his wife wasn't speaking, Yi Hua continued to go online while feeling gloomy. This time he was much more stable and he was able to deal the last hit in peace. Right now, Dong Huang Baiji had also gotten into the bottom lane, and her coordination with Death Mage was very good, causing the bottom lane to collapse. Meanwhile, when Yi Hua saw that his wife's battle score was actually better than his, he became even more unhappy. "I am a man who is supposed to carry the entire team and yet I ended up becoming my wife. No. I, the Supreme Overlord, want to kill. Kill stealing." Afterward, Yi Hua began to shamelessly steal kills. After his wife had beaten the enemy half to death, he would flash to the guillotine. However, every time he flashed to the guillotine he would never return. If not for Dong Huang Baiji's easy, he would probably have ended up as a GG again. In the end, Dong Huang Baiji carried the entire team and the score became 1-1. Yi Hua had the most deaths in the entire team, other than those few kills that he managed to steal. Seeing that Yi Hua was unhappy, Dong Huang Baiji lightly held onto Yi Hua's hand and said tenderly, "Husband, let's go down together." No. Yi Hua was very tsundere. "I beg of you," Dong Huang Baiji said with a smile as if she was coaxing her own child. Yi Hua pursed his lips, "Kiss me and I will promise you." Dong Huang Baiji kissed onto Yi Hua's cheek. "Is that okay?" "Alright, I will give you one more chance." "Thank you, husband, I will continue to support you," Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly. This is what a smart woman should be like. "No matter how powerful I am still a man who is the center of everything. No wonder Yi Hua likes me so much." Yi Hua said faintly, "Forget it, I will support you." Hearing what Yi Hua said, Dong Huang Baiji became slightly absent-minded for a moment, then revealed out a gentle smile. "Husband, you are the best. It's good that you know," Yi Hua said faintly, and a trace of a smile appeared on his face. Chapter 724. Between husband and wife, they had to tolerate and understand each other. Since the Empress was already like this, I naturally had to give her face. With the husband and wife working together, Yi Hua instantly killed Nan Wuxia, and Yi Hua became the man behind the Empress. Looking at the happy smile on his wife's face, Yi Hua felt that it was all worth it. Don't men have to make their women happy? The final score was locked at 31. Dong Huang Baiji was the expert with the most potential. "Husband, we won." Dong Huang Baiji hugged onto her man and gave him a kiss. Looking at how her man was silently protecting her just now, although it was just a game, Dong Huang Baiji felt very touched. "Yi Hua, thank you. There is no need to say such things between us." Yi Hua lovingly pinched onto the Empress's cheek. The Empress also wore a tender expression as she nestled in her husband's embrace, rubbing against him lightly. At this moment, Kai Yun led all of the members of Southern Wuxia and arrived before Yi Hua, then shouted out once again, "Subordinate congratulates your honor." Yi Hua nodded his head. "In the future all of you will be my subordinates. All of your grudges will naturally be my grudges." "Thank you, your honor." Kai Yun was very excited. "If those people were still here, I will definitely take revenge for my subordinates." 5 flags behind him was also very moved. The scene of being tortured was still vivid in their minds. After being sealed for so long, they naturally harbored hatred in their hearts. This move of Yi Hua's could be said to have drawn the hearts of the people over to his side. In the past, Yi Hua would definitely not have used this move. However, the Yi Hua who had changed did. When it came to scheming, the Yi Hua himself was also an expert. In the future, you two can continue to use the identity of Nan Wuqi, and do not reveal the relationship between you two and me. Yi Hua didn't want others to know about this matter for the time being. Yes. Kai Yun naturally agreed unconditionally. Yi Hua held onto Dong Huang Baiji's small hand and stood up. "That's all for today. Wait for my orders." "Yes." This subordinate respectfully sends off his honor. Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji returned to Voidless Realm. Yi Zizi naturally returned to Qing Bar, and Death Mage definitely returned to accompany his wife. As for Lai Gu was not in a hurry to go back. Instead, he walked towards Yu Hua and lightly helped her up. "Yu Hua, can I add you on WeChat?" With a strange shyness, Lai Gu asked. Yu Hua pursed her lips and Kai Yun gave his subordinate a look. "Don't be a third wheel here." "All right." Yu Hua was also helpless. "Right now we are all his honor's subordinates." Hearing that Yu Hua agreed to it, Lai Gu hurriedly took out his phone and said, "Let me scan you." Yu Hua helplessly took out her QR code. With a beep, Lai Gu finally added Yu Hua's WeChat. "Then I'll be leaving first." "Yes." "How about we go on a date tomorrow?" Lai Gu asked nervously, not knowing if Yu Hua would agree to it or not. "I am so excited." "I want to serve the flag master," Yu Hua said calmly. Kai Yun stretched out his head and said, "I can take care of myself." Yu Hua was speechless. Lai Gu looked at Yu Hua with an expectant look. "Quickly agree to it, quickly agree to it." "I." Before Yu Hua could finish her words, Lai Gu said excitedly, "All right then, I will come and pick you up tomorrow. I will be leaving first, good night." After finished speaking, Lai Gu disappeared. "I'm very excited. I will go back and roll around the bed with my wife first. I can't take it anymore. I can't take it anymore." Seeing that Lai Gu had disappeared, Kai Yun brought his subordinates and walked out. "Yo, my Yu Hua is in love," Kai Yun teased. "Flag master." Yu Hua stomped her feet on the ground, looking very girly. Kai Yun smiled slyly. "Yu Hua, you better not act coquettishly in front of me in the future. You will have to act coquettishly in front of other people, haha." Yu Hua's face turned red from being teased by Kai Yun. Meanwhile, when Song Konghong saw how Yu Hua was acting, she felt very upset in her heart. "I really want to say something but I said it too slowly. I really want to die." Luo Ho waved his folding fan and said, "Yu Hua, it is a good thing that someone is chasing after you. Giving others a chance is also giving yourself a chance." Yu Hua remained silent, then said in a low voice, "I am going to rest. Flag master, you should rest early too." "Yu Hua, you are not going to sleep with me today?" "Oh, I got it, now that there is a man, you won't sleep with me anymore." Kai Yun was simply able to kill someone with his words. Just like the current Yu Hua, she had already fled. After a while, only Tsang Konghong was left in the hall. Bai Gu patted onto Tsang Konghong's shoulder. "If I were you, I would have smashed my head into the wall and committed suicide." Tsang Konghong wanted to say something. "Don't say anything. I know you have low self-esteem, but is Yu Hua that kind of person? Sometimes you have to be more courageous. Look at other men, they directly ask for her WeChat. You're just in a favorable position. You're too cowardly." After that, White Bones left. Tsang Konghong let out a deep sigh and walked to her room. However, she didn't go in. Instead, she walked to Yu Hua's room. At that moment, Yu Hua was about to go to bed and rest when she heard some movements outside. "Is it Little Red?" Yu Hua opened the door and said with a smile, "What's the matter so late at night?" Seeing Yu Hua's smile, Tsang Konghong became terrified again. "No." Yu Hua smiled sweetly. "Then rest early." "Okay." Sky Red was normal only when he said one word. Seeing Yu Hua closing the door with a smile, as if she was looking forward to the date tomorrow, Tsang Konghong was very displeased. She had liked Yuhua for a long time, but that high school student was dating Yuhua the first time they met. Don't I look ugly? Could it be that this was really an era where one's face mattered? The prehistoric era is still the best. On the other side, Yihua brought the empress back home. When Qingya saw that her husband had finally returned, she cried tears of joy. This caused Yihua to comfort Qingya for a long time. Only after agreeing to countless conditions did Qingya finally feel better. Of course, Yihua also had to tell Qingya about what happened. Yihua added oil to the details of what happened, making it seem as if Qingya had a narrow escape from death, causing Qingya's heart to ache endlessly. Qingya kept saying that she was useless and was unable to help Yihua. Donghuang Baiji smiled but didn't say anything. Yihua is always like this. Whenever he sees an opportunity, he will lie to her. Look at Qingya, she has already been lied to by Yihua to the point where her face is covered with tears. Of course, rolling in the bed with Qingya was especially hard on Yihua, causing Yihua to feel great. Yihua shouted that Qingya had become sensible. After settling the two wives, Yihua hugged onto the two beauties and did not go to sleep. The current situation doesn't seem right. I, the Supreme Overlord, have no opponents again. The main reason is that the environment is different. Most people are just enjoying life and there aren't any fights. Kangluo continent is still the best. The place is big, there are a lot of powers and there are a lot of people who are competitive. This time, should I return with a big scene or should I return with a low profile? After pondering for a long time, Yihua felt that it would be better for him to return with a low profile. If he returned with a high profile, he would scare people to death. Chapter 725. People of Kangluo continent, wait for my arrival. Whether you live or die, it's all in your hands. Please make your choice. Don't disappoint me. The next morning, Lai Gu got up from the pile of beauties. Beside him were three beautiful celebrities. The scene was extremely alluring and it was something that men yearned for. However, the scumbag Lai Gu was already used to this kind of scene. With an excited look on his face, he wore his clothes. They still noticed that after the man came back last night, he was especially excited. During the whole night he didn't stop making love. Even now he was still excited. Gu Gu, where are you going so early? Lai Gu asked with an amiable smile. Lai Gu, who was wearing his necktie, said with a smile, "Oh, going on a date." Date? The women on the bed were still stunned. At this moment, when Xia and Bai Xiaojun also woke up. That word, date, had an explosive effect. Saying that he wants to go on a date with another woman in front of his wives? It must be said that Lai Gu was very daring. However, Lai Gu was just like that. He wouldn't hide it, nor would he intentionally lie to them. Look, is my necktie straightened? Lai Gu looked at his three wives on the bed with an excited look. However, looking at their expressions, Lai Gu was puzzled for a moment. What's going on? In Lai Gu's heart, it's very normal to have a lot of women. In the past, my female dragons are constantly changing. Who are you going to go on a date with? When Xia asked coolly. Oh, it's that girl from Nan Wuxia. Lai Gu rubbed a handful of hair wax on his head and dressed his hair carefully. The three wives looked at the man dressing his hair carefully. Even when he was with them, he had never dressed like this before. Thus they felt very uncomfortable. Lai Gu took a glance at his wives on the bed and asked curiously, "Why do you all seem unhappy?" Nonsense, if a man wants to go on a date with another woman, how can they be happy? They're not sick. Bai Xiaojun's eyes even reddened, seemingly very wronged. When Xia grabbed onto the blanket tightly. And she was still biting her lips, resisting this kind of thing very much. After a long time she still asked, "Did we do something wrong?" Lai Gu was really confused. "Nope, you guys are pretty good." "Then why do you still want to go on a date with another woman?" Bai Xiaojun mustered up her courage and asked, "What's the matter?" Lai Gu had a confused look on his face. The three wives were speechless, as if they were playing the lute to a cow. After tidying himself up, Lai Gu happily went out of the house. "I might not be able to return home tonight, so don't cook for me anymore, moi." As the door closed, Bai Xiaojun couldn't help but cry. Even the cool when Xia cried, let alone he ran. Ever since they got to know Lai Gu, they had been obediently being a good wife and tried their best to satisfy all of Lai Gu's needs. Lai Gu also did not disappoint them and loved them very much. I thought that I would continue living like this, but today I actually heard that Lai Gu wanted to go on a date. Moreover, the target wasn't himself, but another woman. It was so sudden that it was a huge blow to them. Even now, they still hadn't come back to their senses. They felt that it was all fake. "Iran, what should we do?" Bai Xiaojun cried and asked Iran. After all, Iran was the big sister among them. He still didn't know what to do and his heart was in a mess. Lai Gu was completely unaware of his wife's current state. At this moment he had already arrived at Nanwiki. After taking out his WeChat, his profile picture was actually a dog. Yuhua, I'm here to pick you up. Heart sign. After sending the message, Lai Gu stood outside of the palace and waited. From time to time he would breathe in and smell the air. After that he took out a mirror and looked at himself. My hairstyle is pretty good and I look very handsome. Not long later, Kai Yun brought his subordinates and walked out of the palace. Lai Gu saw Yuhua with a single glance. Today Yuhua was very beautiful. She was wearing a light blue long dress just like her attribute. That spotlessly white and flawless skin, that beautiful hair that was tied up behind her head, gave off a feeling of maturity. Her pair of clear and beautiful eyes were captivating, and her exquisite makeup was also extremely beautiful. This caused Lai Gu's little heart to thump. I really didn't expect that Yuhua would attach so much importance to this date and actually dressed up so beautifully. There's a chance, there's a chance. This morning Yuhua was pulled up by Kai Yun early in the morning and told her to dress up properly. Yuhua had no choice but to dress up under Kai Yun's supervision until Kai Yun was satisfied. Lai Gu, you came really early. Kai Yun laughed mischievously as he pulled Yuhua, who was a bit shy, and walked over. Right now Lai Gu was also a bit shy to the point where he didn't even know what he should say. I didn't sleep well last night. What Lai Gu said was the truth. After fighting all the way till dawn, how could I sleep well? Haha, you must be thinking of my Yuhua, right? Kai Yun winked his eyes towards Lai Gu. For the first time ever, Lai Gu's face became a bit red. When I was having sex with my wife yesterday, I indeed thought of Yuhua. Is this the taste of love? So nervous, so excited, Yuhua looked at Lai Gu's bashful look, and her expression changed and her face became a bit red. Kai Yun looked at the time and said, Lai Gu, today I will hand my Yuhua over to you. Protect her properly. If I find out that you hurt Yuhua, I will report this to his honor. Kai Yun, you can be at ease, I guarantee that I will treat Yuhua well. Lai Gu patted on his chest and said, That's more like it, hurry up and go on the date. Yuhua let out a breath and walked down the stairs. Lai Gu immediately followed after her. You. Song Kong Hong, who was standing at the back, suddenly called out. Moonlight, who was walking down the stairs, was stunned for a moment. She turned around and looked at Song Kong Hong. Little Red, what's the matter? The people of southern Wuxia only knew a little about Red Sky and Moonlight. White Bones knew the most about them. Keep it up, White Bones whispered to Cerulean Sky Hong. Kai Yun did not stop him, as if he was doing this for Blue Sky Red, forcing him to speak his mind. You. Song Kong Hong called out again. She clenched her fists and hated herself for speaking so slowly. Yuhua was puzzled when she saw Song Kong Hong's strange expression. Lil, Red, let's talk when we get back. Upon hearing this, Song Kong Hong felt like a deflated balloon, completely drained of energy. And Lai Gu didn't care too much about it. He brought along Yuhua and disappeared from the top of the stairs, going on a date. Seeing the two of them vanish, Kai Yun sighed softly, turned around and left. Luo Ho opened his folding fan, glanced at Sky Hong and sighed. Quang Sha shook his head and left. Meanwhile, White Bones scolded, You coward, serves you right to be single. Song Kong Hong stood at the same spot blankly. It was clearly a warm breeze, but right now I feel a bone-piercing cold. Looking at the place where the two of them disappeared from, Song Kong Hong felt that his heart was in pain. In pain. Why didn't I say it just now? Why am I so stupid? Why? Chapter 726. On the streets of London, Lai Gu and Yuhua were walking side by side. Yuhua's beauty naturally attracted foreign men, and foreign women didn't like men like Lai Gu who had a small body, they liked strong and muscular men. Walking on the street after the rain, Lai Gu was very nervous, he didn't even know what to say. Meanwhile, Yuhua, who was at the side, looked very calm, there wasn't any fluctuation. Looking around, Lai Gu's height was about the same as Yuhua's. It wasn't that Yuhua was very tall, but because Lai Gu was a high school student, he was slightly shorter than an adult man. Damn it, I am also a man who had been through hundreds of battles, why am I speechless in front of a woman? In actuality, it was the same for the person that they liked. Some men would be shy. And for the three wives at the beginning, it was just a desire, or at that time, it was just a tool to vent, and after a long time they would develop feelings for each other. However, Yuhua was different. Are you tired? 30 minutes later, Lai Gu finally spoke out. Not tired. Yu Hua said faintly. Looking at the lady's bag in Yu Hua's hand, Lai Gu thought of a question. Don't guys have to help girls carry their bags? I will carry your bag for you. Lai Gu said without any substance. No need. Yu Hua said lightly. Lai Gu felt that Yu Hua's tone seemed to be a bit unhappy, thus he became a bit anxious. She isn't angry, right? What should I do? I am good on the bed, but outside of the bed, I am still inferior to his honor. Should I introduce myself to her now? I am his honor's subordinate. I know. Yu Hua's tone was still the same. I have been following his honor for almost 1,000 years. Oh. Lai Gu felt that he was going to collapse. How am I supposed to manipulate a girl like this? I only know how to force myself on her. After following his honor to this place, I already have 3 wives. Oh. Yu Hua seemed very calm. This caused Lai Gu to be stupefied. You don't mind? Lai Gu was puzzled. Is this Yu Hua trying to trick me? Yu Hua said lightly, your original form is a dragon, 3 should still be considered a little, right? You know about this as well. Lai Gu was shocked. I have never revealed my true form before, how did she know about this? You're also a bone dragon of the undead clan, Yu Hua added. Lai Gu went into a daze for a moment. He felt that he was transparent in front of the moonlight. The 2 of them walked to the zebra crossing and waited for the red light. Lai Gu pouted his mouth, not knowing what else he should say. This Yu Hua is so cold, even when Xia isn't as cold as her. Along with the green light lighting up, Lai Gu suddenly grabbed onto Yu Hua's wrist. This made Yu Hua frown, but because it was her wrist, she didn't say anything. After crossing the zebra crossing, Lai Gu let go of Yu Hua and appeared to be very calm. Actually, he was panicking. When he grabbed Yu Hua's wrist just now, he felt that his heart was about to jump out. However, when he thought that Yu Hua did not resist, he still felt that there was a chance. I'm sorry about yesterday's matter, I didn't injure you, right? Lai Gu began to chat awkwardly again. No, Yu Hua said softly. Nothing like that? What a great blow to this king. It must be said that Yu Hua was able to restrain Lai Gu in every aspect. Regardless of whether it was fighting or dating, it was still the same. Lai Gu felt that he had to change his way of talking and not chat so awkwardly anymore. Do you know, you almost scratched me to death yesterday. Yu Hua didn't say anything and a bright redness appeared on her face. It's still very painful until now. After Lai Gu finished speaking, he even paused for a while and had a gloomy look on his face. This made Yu Hua laugh lightly, then said softly, isn't it because you asked for it yourself? Seeing that Yu Hua was finally made to laugh by him, Lai Gu was so happy. Furthermore, his face even turned red. As expected, changing his way of talking is useful. The important thing is that the atmosphere is no longer awkward. Sometimes when a man and a woman are dating, don't be too depressing. The topics are all brought out by the man. Don't tell me that you still want the girl to take the initiative to talk to you? Unless that girl directly fell for you, otherwise it's impossible. Of course, the topic is also very important. It's good if it's a bit dirty. Adjusting the girl's mentality just like what Lai Gu was doing right now, he directly made the bored Yu Hua laugh. This will definitely increase the favorability of the girl. Of course, this kind of topic cannot continue on, if not, I will become an old hooligan, although Lai Gu was originally an old hooligan. Yu Hua, you look really beautiful when you smile. I'm also an expert at picking up girls, alright? Just now, I was just being humble and probing the enemy's military situation. Girls all like to hear other people's praises. If they can grab onto the opportunity, they will definitely gain more points. Just like the current Yu Hua, she was a bit shy. Just look at the way she lightly flipped her hair. Thank you. Yu Hua's tone also became a lot gentler. Lai Gu felt that there's really a chance. Do you know, actually, I didn't want to hurt you yesterday. Is that so? I see that you are rather ruthless. Yu Hua's tone carried a bit of complaint, indicating that her mood was affected by Lai Gu. Lai Gu didn't show any apologetic expression and said with a smile, Yu Hua, actually, your main body still has a special skill. Rebound. Lai Gu had a look of heartache. Rebound? Yu Hua was puzzled. After all, she just came out from the seal not long ago, thus she didn't know some tricks. That's right, when I hurt you, the rebound will immediately hit me. Yu Hua's beautiful eyes seemed to be floating a bit, seemingly very shy. Yu Hua, I didn't expect that you would be even more beautiful when you are shy. Lai Gu seized the opportunity and started flirting. This caused Yu Hua's heartbeat to quicken a bit. How am I shy? Aha, you still dare to say no, you are already blushing. Lai Gu pointed at Yu Hua's face and said with a smile. Actually, Lai Gu didn't really blush, but after being said by Lai Gu, Yu Hua really blushed. Yu Hua hammered Lai Gu unhappily. Alright, stop talking about me. Facing Yu Hua's intimate action, Lai Gu was rather excited. If there is a girl that can treat you like this, it means that her heart has been stirred up by you. As long as this continues to develop, there will definitely be a chance. After all, this kind of action can at least upgrade from a stranger to a friend. Let's sit down and drink something. Seeing that the effect was more or less done, Lai Gu decided to rest for a bit before attacking again. Yu Hua didn't refuse and nodded her head. In the following period of time, the two of them got to know each other, watched a movie, then went to an art exhibition and even ate a romantic candlelight dinner. This was a dinner that Yu Hua had never experienced before, thus she felt that it was very romantic. After getting to know each other on the first day, Yu Hua felt that Lai Gu was very considerate, reaching the level of meticulous care. Requesting for monthly votes, requesting for recommendation votes? Chapter 727. After dinner, the two of them took a walk beside the tame river. Because the weather was a bit cold, Lai Gu gave Yu Hua a coat to wear. Although he knew that Yu Hua wasn't cold, this was still a kind of concern, a kind of consideration. Yu Hua didn't reject Lai Gu's kindness, and the day passed rather happily. Lai Gu even bought a bouquet of carnations and gave it to Yu Hua. Yu Hua didn't reject it and received the flowers from Lai Gu. It was the first time that she received flowers, and this made Yu Hua have a strange feeling. After all, no one had ever given her flowers before. Yu Hua was a person from the ancient era. How would the people of that era know anything about romance? Absolute strength was something that attracted the opposite sex. Even if they wanted to give flowers, they would give some high-grade techniques or weapons. Giving flowers wasn't something that a real man should do. But no matter which era it was, all girls liked romance. So when Yu Hua received Lai Gu's flowers, her heartbeat quickened a bit, and the way she looked at Lai Gu also changed. Just having a good impression was already a huge improvement for Lai Gu. After all, Lai Gu wasn't good at chasing after girls, and it was already very amazing for him to be able to reach this stage. Yu Hua, it's getting late, I'll send you back. Lai Gu looked at the time, it was already 9 p.m. Yu Hua held onto the flowers and lightly agreed. Don't look down on this. Her tone was very gentle. Once a girl has this kind of expression, it meant that she had already placed you in her heart and was willing to listen to you. Lai Gu wasn't stupid. From some details he could tell that Yu Hua's feeling towards him was getting better and better, so he should strike while the iron is hot. The two of them returned to Nan Wuxia and stood on the stairs in front of the palace. Yu Hua didn't leave in a hurry, seemingly waiting for Lai Gu to speak, or to say good night. Yu Hua, I'm very happy to be able to be together with you today. Lai Gu abandoned his usual attitude and said steadily. Yu Hua slightly nodded her head and said softly. Thank you for accompanying me for a day. Let's go to the amusement park to play tomorrow, okay? Lai Gu invited again. He was very nervous. If Yu Hua was interested in him, she would definitely agree. If not, she would probably reject him and give him a cold song. Yu Hua was unfamiliar with amusement park, so she nodded her head. Okay. Lai Gu almost couldn't hold back the joy in his heart and said excitedly. I'll come and pick you up tomorrow morning. And? With a trace of a smile on her face, Yu Hua nodded her head. This caused Lai Gu to be dumbfounded. This is truly beautiful. Towards the girls that Lai Gu likes, all of them are the most beautiful existences, and Lai Gu was no exception. Alright, good night, rest early. You too. Wow. The Moonlight Society was concerned about him, so cool. It felt so good. Lai Gu instantly disappeared from where he was, and it was unknown where he appeared, and he changed back to his original form. The gigantic dragon skeleton swayed in the air, and it even performed a moonwalk. From time to time, it would let out a dragon roar, and it was so happy that it didn't look like a dragon anymore. As for Yu Hua, after seeing Lai Gu leaving, she laughed lightly and sniffed the carnation that was in her embrace. It is rather fragrant. Our moonlight flower is yearning for spring, Kai Yun teased as he looked at Moonlight Flower. Yu Hua immediately stopped smiling and said respectfully, Flag Master. How was your date? Kai Yun looked at Moonlight, who was holding a bouquet of flowers, and asked with a smile. Judging from Moonlight's expression just now, they should have a chance. Yu Hua said calmly, Yes, I'm fine. Are you alright? You have already accepted someone else's flowers. Kai Yun pouted his mouth. I'm sorry to reject. If you don't want it, then give it to me. It looks rather nice in my room. As Kai Yun spoke, he was about to take the flowers, while Yu Hua subconsciously leaned back slightly. Although it was a very small action and ordinary people wouldn't be able to see it, Kai Yun saw it. Women are all dishonest. Alright, I won't tease you anymore. Now you aren't even willing to give me a bouquet of flowers. Having a man is indeed different. Kai Yun was a bit jealous. A subordinate that is married out is like water that is splashed out. Just what happened to me just now. I even have to guard a bouquet of flowers. Did you two continue your date tomorrow? Kai Yun continued to ask. What a gossipy boss. In this aspect, Kai Yun and Yi Hua were very similar. Yu Hua nodded her head. And we have an appointment. Aya, that's great, quickly go and rest. Maintain a good night's sleep, that way, you will be beautiful. This teasing made Yu Hua speechless. Flagmaster, rest early. Got it, remember to dress up a bit prettier tomorrow. Yu Hua nodded her head with a slightly red face, then left. Looking at Yu Hua's leaving figure, Kai Yun retracted his smile and let out a deep sigh. Look at his honor subordinate, he hooked up with Yu Hua in just a single day, and look at that idiot Xiao Hong who has been guarding by Yu Hua's side for over 10,000 years. If you still don't make a move, Yu Hua is going to be snatched away by someone. With a gentle smile on her face, Yu Hua held onto the bouquet of flowers and walked towards her room. Meanwhile, Song Konghong was sitting on a stone bench in the garden while holding onto a piece of white paper. He knew that he wasn't good at expressing himself with words, thus he wrote down all of his thoughts on the paper, hoping that Yu Hua would be able to accept him after seeing his confession. This garden was the path that Yu Hua had to pass by in order to go to her room. Thus, Song Konghong had been waiting here from day till night. Hearing those familiar footsteps, Song Konghong immediately became nervous. He stuffed the piece of white paper into his clothes, then stood up. However, when Song Konghong saw Yu Hua walking toward him with a bouquet of flowers and a mesmerizing smile on her face, he felt as if his heart had been slashed by a knife, and he found it hard to breathe. Yu Hua, who was holding the flowers, was very happy. This kind of happiness was rarely seen in Sky Red. At most, Yu Hua would have this kind of expression when she treated the flag master. I just went out for a trip today, why did it become like this? Sometimes your giving up is helping someone else. A man should not be a coward. If you like someone, you should be bold enough to say it. Don't be like Song Konghong, only knowing regret after losing it. Regret that you did not have the courage to express it back then. Yu Hua also saw Song Konghong, who stood up. The happy smile on her face disappeared. Thinking of what happened in the morning, Yu Hua slowly walked toward Song Konghong and said with a smile, Xiao Hong, are you still awake? It would be a wonder if Sky Hong could fall asleep. Wait. Song Konghong mustered up her courage and said the first word. Moonlight could understand. She slowly sat down on the stone bench and smiled. Are you waiting for me? You seem to have something to tell me this morning. What is it? You? Song Konghong was very nervous. She wanted to tell him not to go on a date. Chapter 728. Little Red, don't worry. He's been pretty good to me. Yesterday we fought for different masters, Yu Hua said with a smile. Her words made Song Konghong's heart sink and he sat down powerlessly. Yu Hua seemed to have found someone to talk to, and she spoke out her thoughts one by one. Actually, in the beginning I didn't think that Lai Gu was a good dragon. After all, the personality of a dragon is very clear, it is insatiably greedy. But today I heard him say that he only has 3 wives. I think this dragon is quite honest. He speaks shyly and is very considerate. He takes good care of me. I think it's not bad. Nanny? Only 3 wives? Actually, the dragon race in Yu Hua's eyes was different. For those dragons that had transformed into human form, the number of females was maintained at 3 digits, and those with high status were all at 4 digits. As for Lai Gu, there were only 3 of them, and to the dragon race it was simply a miracle. This also allowed Yu Hua to discover the difference in Lai Gu. Song Konghong was speechless. She thought to herself, I can also take care of you and be so considerate. Look, these are the flowers he gave me. I actually quite like them. However, Lai Gu's luck was also rather good. Yu Hua liked the carnations in her hands very much. Looking at Yu Hua's happy look, Song Kong's heart felt as if it was bleeding. Song Kong really wanted to take out the white paper that was in his bosom, but he didn't dare to do so right now as he was afraid that Yu Hua would reject him. Song Kong was so happy right now. Little Red, I'm only saying this to you. Don't tell anyone else. Yu Hua chuckled. In fact, Yu Hua would sometimes confide in Song Kong Hong. This was because Song Kong Hong was a very good listener. He would listen to anything you said. Perhaps it was because of this that Song Kong Hong's feelings towards the moonlight essence had changed. Yu Hua looked up at the full moon in the sky and said with a smile, "Let's go to the amusement park tomorrow. Should be fun. Xiao Hong, rest early. I'm going back." After that, Yu Hua stood up with the flowers in her hands. "You." Blue Sky Red called out. Yu Hua turned around and asked with a smile, "Is there anything else?" Seeing the smile on Yu Hua's face, Song Kong Hong slowly said, "No." Yu Hua nodded and walked towards her room after reminding her. Song Kong Hong sat down weakly and took out a piece of white paper. Song Kong Hong's face was contorted in grief. A tear slid out of the tiny eye and rolled down her face, dripping onto the white paper. When the tears touched the white paper, they instantly ignited and turned into dust. Behind a fake mountain not too far away, Kai Yun and his other 3 subordinates were currently sneaking away. Yi Hua's style was exactly the same as Yi Hua's. Yi Hua loved to watch this kind of gossip the most. Yeah. Kai Yun sighed deeply. Sigh. Luo Ho sighed helplessly. Sigh. White Bones was exasperated. Sigh. Guangxia was a bit bored. On the other side, Lai Gu, who had just gotten over his excitement, had also returned home. "Wife, I'm back." Lai Gu changed his shoes and shouted out loudly without the slightest bit of feeling of guilt. Lai Gu's 3 wives could be seen sitting at the dining table, and a sumptuous dinner was placed on the dining table. "Gugu, have you eaten?" He stood up and asked with a smile. Lai Gu grinned and said, "Speaking of which, I am indeed a bit hungry. The portion of that candlelight dinner is too small." "A candlelight dinner?" The expressions of the 3 wives froze. "Even if you are fooling around outside, you don't have to show off in front of us, right?" Lai Gu didn't notice the expressions of his wives at all, and he immediately sat down and started eating. "So fragrant, you guys quickly eat." How could the 3 women have any appetite to eat? They were so angry that they were about to be full, but they were also helpless against such a matter. After the meal, Lai Gu pulled the 3 women to do their daily chores. However, Lai Gu discovered that his 3 women don't seem to be as passionate as they used to be. Just like the 3 corpses, this caused Lai Gu to be very puzzled, thinking that the 3 corpses were sick. That shouldn't be the case. They were all modified by me, and all of them have a physique that is immune to poison. "What's wrong with you guys today? Is there something on your mind?" Lai Gu asked curiously. The 3 women remained silent, feeling wronged to death. "What do you think?" Seeing that his wives were not speaking, Lai Gu smiled and said, "Today's date was pretty good. I told Yu Hua that I have the 3 of you as my wives and she doesn't mind. We still have to go to the amusement park to play tomorrow. It's getting late, I need to take a good rest." After finished speaking, Lai Gu hugged onto Wenxia's body. Wenxia struggled for a bit, then calmed down again. The 3 women had been worried for the entire day at home, and at night, they were still waiting for Lai Gu to come back for dinner. However, when they heard such a matter as women, they felt uncomfortable. "I really don't understand why Lai Gu likes it so much." 1 week passed by very quickly. Lai Gu asked Yu Hua out to play every day, and he pampered her in every possible way. The relationship between the 2 rose like a rocket, and right now, Lai Gu was even able to hold on to Yu Hua's hand. Meanwhile, Lai Gu was as happy as a child. "I feel that this is what love is, it feels so comfortable." Yu Hua also gradually entered the state of love. Every day she would dress up meticulously before going out, and she would present her most beautiful side. The most important thing was, the gentleness on Yu Hua's face had never stopped. Being able to receive the little gifts that Lai Gu prepared meticulously every day made Yu Hua even happier. Everyone in South Wuxia saw Yu Hua's current state, and they felt happy for Yu Hua. Of course, they were also cursing Song Kong Hong in their hearts. "It's great now, seeing that the girl that I like is gone, I feel so comfortable. I have never seen such a cowardly person." In the end, it was still because Song Kong Hong was not confident in himself. After all, in terms of appearance, the difference between the 2 of them was too big. Adding on the changes that happened to Yu Hua this week, it caused Song Kong Hong to be in so much pain that she wished she was dead. Song Kong Hong was very hurt. Lai Gu's 3 wives were even more so. Every night, their husbands would return home at 9 p.m., and that excited look on their faces was something that even they rarely saw. Even at night, the topic that they were discussing on the bed was Yu Hua. All of it was Yu Hua. This caused the 3 wives to be on the verge of collapsing. If this goes on, they will definitely suffer from depression. Therefore, the three women had no other choice but to seek help from his honor. If this problem is not solved, I won't be able to get over the hurdle in my heart. In actuality, the three women didn't dare to tell their husbands about this matter, fearing that Lai Gu would get angry. Thus, they could only endure it silently. Thus, this kind of entanglement was created, and when the entanglement accumulated to a certain extent, it would erupt. On this night, Lai Gu and Yu Hua ended their daily date. Just now, they went to the African prairie to look at various kinds of animals, and furthermore they were holding hands with each other. Even though they were currently standing outside of South Wuxi's palace, the two of them were still tightly interlocked with each other. They were truly a pair of sweet lovers. Chapter 729. Yu Hua's exquisite face was a bit red as she said lightly, "Me too. Let's change to another place to play tomorrow," Lai Gu said excitedly. If in the past he wanted to marry Yu Hua as soon as possible, then now he just wanted to be together with Yu Hua every day. And, looking at Yu Hua's slightly shy face, Lai Gu made up his mind and hugged Yu Hua. "Yu Hua, you are the best." Right now Yu Hua's heart was in a mess. This was the first time she snuggled into a man's embrace. This kind of hug gave her a strong sense of security, which was a feeling that she didn't have in the past. Right now Lai Gu was very nervous. This was a different feeling from hugging my wife. Yu Hua struggled for a bit, then calmed down. "Lai Gu, we are still outside the palace." Sorry?" Lai Gu hurriedly let go of Yu Hua and apologized. Looking at Lai Gu's panic-stricken look, Yu Hua laughed tenderly, just like 100 flowers blooming at the same time. "You should go back and rest early. I will wait for you tomorrow," Yu Hua said tenderly, and her pair of beautiful eyes revealed out tenderness. Lai Gu nodded his head, "And you should rest early too." Right after Yu Hua finished speaking, his honor's voice transmission rang out in Lai Gu's mind. His honor's tone wasn't very good. Seeing that Lai Gu's expression had a huge change, Yu Hua asked with concern, "Did something happen?" "Oh, nothing much. His honor is looking for me." Lai Gu squeezed out a smile. Judging from his honor's tone, it definitely isn't a small matter. It can't be because of me and Yu Hua, right? "Hurry up and go then, don't delay the important matter," Yu Hua instructed. This made Lai Gu very happy. Looking at Lai Gu leaving, Yu Hua's mouth arced up into a trace of a smile. She was looking forward to tomorrow's date. Meanwhile, at Voidless Realm, the Empress's palace was brightly lit. Yu Hua's face was sunken as he listened to Lai Gu and the other two women's choked complaints. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were also sitting at the side, and their expressions weren't very good either. From their complaints, Lai Gu, that scumbag, was extremely bad. He had 3 beautiful wives at home and he was still fooling around outside. The reason why Yi Hua's face turned black was because Lai Gu's actions had caused me, the Supreme Overlord, to lose too much face. This kind of matter actually came to me, and no matter how Qingya and Donghuang Baiji looked at it, the subordinates that I taught are exactly like this. The 3 women had no other choice but to beg his honor to give them justice. There's no way for us to continue living like this. In actuality, Yi Hua was also scolding Lai Gu for being stupid. You're fooling around outside, yet you're showing off in front of your wife at night. Are you out of your mind or something? This kind of thing could not be said. After all, it was better to bring it home directly than to show off in front of his wife. Idiot. At this time, Lai Gu also appeared at the scene, and when he saw his 3 wives kneeling in front of his honor while weeping, Lai Gu had a stupefied look on his face. Also, why is the complexion of his honor and his honor's madam so bad? Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Lai Gu also kneeled on the ground and shouted out. Yi Hua also didn't ask Lai Gu to get up. Since his honor didn't say anything, Lai Gu didn't dare to get up. I feel that something big is going to happen today. Yi Hua looked at the big family that was kneeling on the ground, then took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up in annoyance. My face has been completely thrown away. Lai Gu, you said it yourself, how are we going to deal with this matter? Yi Hua said gravely. Lai Gu raised his head and said with a puzzled look on his face, Your Honor, what is the matter? Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, who were sitting at the side, shook their heads. Looking at Lai Gu's hesitant look, he doesn't seem to be pretending. What is the matter? Yi Hua's tone couldn't help but become a bit higher, scaring Lai Gu to the point that he hurriedly lowered his head. Subordinate really doesn't know what is going on. Lai Gu wanted to cry but had no tears. Just what is going on? Why are my 3 wives crying like that? You still have the face to ask me what is going on. Lai Gu's face suddenly sunk. Iran. Did someone bully you all? Tell me, I will help you all vent your anger. Hearing what their husband said, the three women cried even more ferociously. Qingya shook her head and said faintly, Lai Gu, do you still not know? Your wife. Lai Gu was really stupefied. Donghuang Baiji directly said, Lai Gu, forget about you dating Yu Hua. Why did you have to anger them? Your wife, I didn't anger them. Lai Gu hurriedly explained. I indeed didn't anger them, and I have treated them quite well. The three women remained silent and sobbed in low voices. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. Towards Lai Gu, he understood him very well. For him to be able to persevere until now and not give up on them, it was already a miracle. I'm asking you, just what are your thoughts towards them? Today you don't have to hide anything from me, you better speak clearly. Because of your matter, I haven't gone to sleep yet. You are affecting my sleep quality. Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, Lai Gu still didn't understand what was going on, but he still said, Your Honor, of course I like them. Then, if you were to choose between Yu Hua and them, which side would you choose? Yi Hua raised the core question of this farce. This question made Lai Gu feel awkward. The first thing that appeared in his mind was Yu Hua, and only after that did he think of his three wives. Seeing that Lai Gu was hesitating, tears began flowing out of the three women's eyes once again. I treated you with sincerity, yet this is the result I got in return. This is too hurtful. Yi Hua said faintly, when you were together with Yu Hua this past Sunday, did you ever think about their feelings? You went on a date just because you said you were with them, and yet, when you returned home, you even flaunted about it. Is there a hole in your brain? Speaking up to here, Lai Gu finally understood, so it was because of this matter. Thinking back to what happened this week, Lai Gu felt that he was indeed flaunting a bit. Your Honor, subordinate did not do that to flaunt, I only did not want to deceive them. It was subordinate who did not consider things thoroughly. I have troubled Your Honor. Lai Gu said respectfully. These were also Lai Gu's heartfelt words. He had never wanted to hide anything from them. From the first time they went on a date, it could be seen that Lai Gu told Yu Hua about his three wives, and he did not hide anything from his wives. Perhaps, Lai Gu didn't consider things thoroughly, and didn't understand the thoughts of women. Between a husband and wife, it would be better for them to speak things out, and then solve it together. Yi Hua let out a breath. I helped you ask them just now, they don't mind you looking for them, but you have to respect them, don't act like how you did in the past, understand? Yi Hua was also reminding Lai Gu to not treat others as tools for mating and to treat others attentively. Lai Gu naturally understood what his honor meant. Your Honor, be at ease, I will treat them well, something like this will not happen again. Chapter 730. The four people who were kneeling on the ground shouted out respectfully, Your Honor, Your Honor's wife. Lai Gu let out a sigh of relief, then looked at his three wives and said lightly, let's go home first. The three wives nodded their heads. In actuality they were still a bit afraid. If I come to complain to His Honor, would I anger Lai Gu? After all, in their hearts, Lai Gu was a hegemon. After returning home, Bai Xiaojun said lightly, Gu, I'll go and cook for you. Xiaojun, let's have a good talk. Lai Gu said faintly, then walked towards the living room. Hearing that her husband's tone was different from before, the three women were a bit flustered. However, they still obediently followed behind her husband. The four of them sat on the sofa, and Lai Gu suddenly held onto the hands of his three wives and said slowly, I very rarely say sorry, but regarding this matter, the way I handled it was wrong. I have caused all of you to feel sad, I apologize to all of you. Hearing Lai Gu's apology, the resentment in the three women's hearts instantly dissipated. Lai Gu had never acted like this before. However, Lai Gu continued, we don't have any emotional foundation in the beginning, I only treated you all as a tool to vent. Lai Gu still said. Lai Gu couldn't say this sentence out, but he still understood. More or less, but after such a long time, I discovered that I can't seem to leave you all, I have already gotten used to it. But the feeling that Yu Hua gave me was like my first love, or rather, love. I have never experienced such a feeling before, and the feelings between us were formed on the bed. Can you all understand if I say it like this? Lai Gu was speaking from the bottom of his heart. Bai Xiaojun's slender shoulders slightly trembled as she choked with sobs. Then after you have Yu Hua, will you still treat us well? Lai Gu couldn't help but knock onto Bai Xiaojun's forehead. Are you stupid? Although I like Yu Hua, I didn't say that I will treat you all badly. If Yuhua comes to our house, she will also be the fourth child and you will still be the eldest. Really? Bai Xiaozhen still didn't dare to believe it. These few days I have been letting my imagination run wild. I thought that my husband would give me the cold shoulder. That's why you women just love to let your imagination run wild, and you even quarreled with his honor. If there's anything we can sit down and talk, understand? After chatting like this, the three women heaved a sigh of relief. Actually, they were afraid that Lai Gu would give them the cold shoulder. I'm sorry. When Xia took the initiative to apologize to her husband, Lai Gu laughed evilly. Is a single apology enough? You guys have been lying like corpses for the past few days. Today I am also going to lie like a corpse. After the misunderstanding was resolved, Lai Gu was finally able to feel comfortable. So much so that when the next morning came, the three wives even helped their husbands to dress up, and warned him about the things that he had to pay attention to, so as to not make the girls unhappy. Lai Gu was very happy towards his wives' change. Furthermore, he guaranteed that Yuhua would be his last woman. If Yuhua heard what Lai Gu said, he would definitely not believe it. Because in the past, Lai Gu often said that this female dragon is my last dragon. However, maybe after Lai Gu became a human he also changed? With a happy mood and under the encouragement of his wives, Lai Gu continued to flirt with girls. Lai Gu was really interested in Yuhua. Of course, towards his wives' magnanimity, Lai Gu was also very gratified, and the way he treated them also changed a lot. A year passed in the blink of an eye. During this year nothing happened at all. This caused Yuhua to be so bored that he started combing his hair. From that day onwards, Voidless Realm and South Wuxia were also being guessed by many people, wondering if they would shake hands and make peace with each other or fall out with each other. However, as a year passed, everyone seemed to have forgotten about these two huge organizations. Those who should be going to bars were going to bars, those who should be flirting with girls were going to flirt with girls, and those who should be going on blind dates were going on blind dates. This was also the thing that made Yuhua depressed. If everything is going on the right track, why would I want to stir up trouble? If not for my children growing up a bit, I would have directly killed my way back to Voidless Realm right now. Speaking of children, God Yi and Yi Lu had truly inherited Yuhua's personality. They were very competitive and had an unyielding spirit. Ever since they were born they had never left Voidless Realm. On the other hand, Dong Huangli and Yi Yan were different. Sometimes they would go out to play, and when they were bored they would train for a bit. Towards the four children's personalities, Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji gave up on correcting them. However, during this period of time, a very strange thing happened, and that was the Green and Red brothers. They were actually unable to conceive a child, and this made Zishan and the other vampire sisters extremely anxious. In fact, they even gave the Green and Red brothers some old folk medicine to eat. In the end, they had no choice but to look for Yuhua. After Yihua's diagnosis, he said that the Green and Red brothers were very normal, and if they were to continue working hard, they might be able to conceive a child. This matter also fell into the ears of Dou Fushi and Li Hun. Originally, Li Hun didn't really care about this matter, but he was also very puzzled. I didn't take any safety measures with me, so why aren't there any reactions? As for Zhu Tian, he was still in the state of a kitten. Yizizi was still the same, playing games every day. Wei Chang and Tang Wei were also the same. Tang Wei had long given up on attacking, and without Tang Wei attacking, Wei Chang became even more unresponsive. Death Mage and Sun Fang were also the same, playing games and whatnot, living their lives happily. Blood Demon was also the same, meticulously taking care of the bar, making sure that his honor had enough pocket money. As for Lai Gu and Yuhua, good things were about to happen. In this 1 year, Lai Gu had been very respectful and caring towards Yuhua, and even now he still hasn't kissed Yuhua and was only holding hands. Yuhua was also gradually being captivated by Lai Gu's tenderness. Yesterday night, Lai Gu's marriage proposal was successful, and he begged his honor to host the wedding for him. This caused Yuhua, who was bored to the point of being anxious, to come to life. I remember that the wedding that was hosted last time was hosted by Yi Hong and Zishan. I didn't expect that it would be Lai Gu's turn so quickly. I'm very happy. The weather was beautiful and the sunlight was warm. Lai Gu arrived at South Wuxia early in the morning to wait for Yuhua, because today he was going to bring Yuhua back home to get to know his 3 wives, then prepare to get married. Thinking about the 1 year that he spent chasing after Yuhua, Lai Gu felt very happy. Hard work pays off. I finally managed to chase after the girl that I like. I am too happy. Yuhua, who was in the room, was currently dressing up, and her beautiful face appeared to be very shy and a bit nervous. In any case, I'm going to meet Lai Gu's other wives today. However, thinking about how well Lai Gu treated her, Yu Hua revealed out a happy smile. Marrying Lai Gu should be very happy. Sighing, my Yu Hua is about to leave me. Kai Yun walked into the room disconsolately and sighed. Yu Hua turned her head around and said with a smile, Flag Master, wasn't it you who pushed me out? Then I'm going to take it back now. Kai Yun sat in Yu Hua's embrace and had a look of reluctance on his face. Chapter 731. I feel that it's fine as well. Then I will inform Lai Gu about it now. Yu Hua joked. Kai Yun snorted. Yu Hua, you have been led astray by that Lai Gu, Yu Hua chuckled. I think so too. Looking at Yu Hua's tender appearance, Kai Yun sighed emotionally. Yu Hua, this dragon has chased after you for a year. His sincerity has finally come, and I can hand you over to him with ease. Towards creatures like dragons, they were a group of impatient and unbridled races. This was even more so towards women. Lai Gu persisted for a year and was respectful towards Yu Hua. He had also obtained Kai Yun's acknowledgement, and even more so, he had obtained Yu Hua's acknowledgement. Flag Master, look at what you're saying. It's as if I've married far away. Don't talk about it anymore. The others are still waiting outside the palace. Yes. Lai Gu, who was standing outside, finally waited for the moonlight to appear. Every time he saw the moonlight, Lai Gu would feel a surge of emotions. This surge of emotions wasn't a physiological need, it was just a simple desire to see the moonlight. Even from far away, Lai Gu waved his arm and shouted loudly, Yu Hua. Looking at Lai Gu's joyful look, Yu Hua revealed out a gentle smile. Lai Gu, I have made you wait for a long time. Lai Gu held onto Yu Hua's hand and said, It's all right, I am willing to wait for as long as it takes. Yu Hua was wearing a sparkling wedding ring on her finger. Everyone was envious. Your wife won't bully me, right? Yu Hua said in a joking tone. How could that be? They're all waiting for you. Our whole family is going to take our wedding photos. And I will listen to you. Yu Hua lightly held onto Lai Gu's arm, and the two of them disappeared from Nanwo Flag. In Song Kong Hong's room, the table was filled with empty bottles of 5-grain liquor. Song Kong Hong, who had sealed his cultivation, was already unconscious on the floor. There were many shredded pieces of paper on the floor, filled with his longing for Yu Hua. However, he had torn them up himself. The sad song Learn to Get Used to played on a loop in the room. White Bones stood at the side, looking at Blue Sky Hong, who had been dispirited for a year. Why are you pretending to be dead? Who are you trying to sell yourself to? White Bones kicked Song Kong Hong, who was on the ground, and said angrily. Seeing that Song Kong Hong, who was on the ground, did not have any reaction, White Bones shouted lightly, You are the one who let him go, you can't blame others. Look at how much Lai Gu cares about you, then look at you, how can there be a coward like you in our Five Flags division? From what I see, Yu Hua's choice of Lai Gu is also correct. With your cowardly look, which woman would like you? The more Bai Gu spoke, the angrier he got, especially when he saw Firmament Hong's silly look. Now they're about to get married. If you have the ability, go and steal the wedding, coward. White Bones was also furious. He fiercely kicked and disappeared. After White Bones left, Blue Sky Red, who was on the ground, opened her small eyes. Bride kidnapping? This might be his last chance. Within Voidless Realm, Yi Hua was currently thinking about the wedding process. No matter what, it was Lai Gu's wedding, and as Lai Gu's mount, Yi Hua was very attentive towards it. However, this time, I don't plan to invite a lot of people, all of them are just a group of subordinates. Using Lai Gu's words, great scholar, low profile. Actually, it was Yuawa's idea. She didn't like to make it too grand. It was enough to have everyone's blessings. Qingye, what do you think I should say? Yi Hua asked curiously. After waiting for a while, Qingye didn't reply. Yi Hua asked Donghuang Baiji, Baiji, what do you think we should do to liven things up? Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything. Yi Hua turned his head around and looked towards his two wives. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji could be seen drinking tea with an unhappy look on their faces. A certain person, he is so worried about his subordinate's marriage, but why doesn't he worry about his own? Qingye's words have a hidden meaning. It has already been so long, yet Yi Hua still hasn't given me and Baiji a wedding. Donghuang Baiji said, from what I see, a certain person doesn't want to give us a wedding. Yi Hua knew that it would be like this. These 2 days the two of them have been acting abnormally. I already told you too, after I get my revenge, I will give you two an unprecedented wedding. Then how long do we have to wait? Are we going to have all our hair turn white and all our teeth fall out? Qingya snorted. Yi Hua smiled bitterly and shook his head. You two don't worry, help me think of a way first. Dong Huang Baiji snorted. We are the women's people, how can we possibly think of a way with you? Tell Lai Gu to prepare more red packets, otherwise he won't open the door. Yi Hua, the wedding this time was different from the last time. These women were also grabbing onto the opportunity to cause trouble. All of the women joined in blocking the door, and even Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji joined in the fun. Yi Hua smiled in disdain. Alright, let's wait and see. Alright, let's see who is more impressive. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji weren't afraid. October 10th was a good day. Today was the day that Lai Gu and his 4 wives were getting married. In the end, Yi Hua decided that the wedding would be held at Voidless Realm. Therefore, Voidless Realm was brimming with happiness today. As for the women, they were all arranged to be at South Wuxia Banner. As the groom, Lai Gu was wearing Chinese groom attire today, and there was even a huge red flower tied to his chest. Coupled with that happy expression of his, he simply looked like an idiot. No matter how powerful a person is, when it comes to the day that they get married, they would all become like this. When the day comes, I will be very calm and collected. Yi Hua was also dressed splendidly today. Looking at the time, it's about time. Everyone come over. Yi Hua ordered. Lai Gu, Wei Chang, Death Mage, Yi Hong, LV Liang, Do Fusher, Blood Demon, and a husky formed Lai Gu's groomsmen group. Subordinate pays respect to your honor. Everyone shouted out in unison. Yi Hua slightly raised his hand and said, Today we only have one mission. Snatch the bride. When everyone heard, snatch the bride, it was so exciting. However, Lai Gu hurriedly said, The bride is mine, you all cannot snatch the bride. Haha. Everyone laughed out loud and even Yi Hua laughed out loud. This is the kind of festive atmosphere that I wanted. Speaking of which, it has been a long time since the entire group was like this. This wedding is a good one. Yi Hua looked at the time. The auspicious time has arrived. Let's go. Everyone rubbed their palms together, preparing to turn South Wuxia Banner upside down. Everyone immediately arrived at South Wuxia Banner, and Yi Hua waved his hand. Snatch. Lai Gu and the others shouted out, Snatch. Seeing that his honor had brought people over to snatch the bride, Bai Gu, who was in the air, hurriedly went back to report the situation. His honor is here to snatch the bride. 4 beautiful women who were dressed in red bridal attire could be seen sitting on the big bed, and countless beautiful women could be seen standing beside them. Qingya, Donghuang Baiji, Qing Yutong, Yi Zizi, Brett, Tang Wei, Sun Fang, Zishan, Li Hun, the blood clan sisters, Dongfang Yuer, Guan Yanxin, and of course Kai Yun, the little beauty. Luo Ho, Huang Sha, and Bai Gu were naturally among them as well, but Sky Red was not seen. Chapter 732. Everyone thought that Song Kong Hong did not want to see this scene, so she hid in her room and cried. Or perhaps she did not dare to face reality and chose to escape. Qingya laughed lightly and said, Snatch people. It won't be that easy. That's right, that's right. Is it so easy to marry my Yu Hua? Kai Yun revealed a naughty smile. It looked like the female side was going to stir up trouble. With Qingya and Donghuang Baiji supporting him, the woman's side became very arrogant. If Lai Gu wants to marry his wife today, no matter what, he would have to lose a few kilograms of blood. At this moment, Qingya laughed tenderly, then immediately formed hand seals with both hands, Emperor Extreme Mystery Codex. This move was something that Yi Hua had taught Qingya. Right now, Qingya was using this move to trick her husband. This move was also a blatant revenge on Yi Hua. Yi Hua didn't give me a wedding, yet he didn't even coax Yi Hua. An invisible barrier could be seen enveloping the bride's room. In order to make the barrier even more sturdy, Qingya smiled and said, Come, add a bit of something. All the beauties had heard what your wife had said. She had added as much material as she could to make the barrier as hard as possible. Right now, Yi Hua had brought his underlings over. Era ran at the very front and excitedly stuck out his tongue and swung it around, making it seem as if he was the one who got married. Bah! The husky Yun Lang felt as if he had knocked his head on something. He felt dizzy and his limbs were unsteady as if he was drunk. Seeing how the husky was acting, Yi Hua raised his hand and clenched his fist. There's a trap. The subordinates came to an abrupt halt. Lai Gu stretched out his hand and touched with a puzzled expression, and the corner of his mouth twitched. Do you have to be so ruthless? Blood Demon, who was at the side, was recording the scene with his camera. Such a joyous moment like this naturally has to be recorded. 100 years. 1,000 years. 10,000 years later, when I take it out to look at it, it will also be very warm and heartwarming. This was what a lively team should be like, one that felt like home. Yihua stretched out his hand and touched Yihua's hand. Yihua silently scolded his wife for messing around. However, since it is a wedding, of course I have to mess around. Yihua could be seen taking out a loudspeaker, then shouting out loudly, "The woman inside, listen up. You have been surrounded. If you know what's good for you, quickly hand over the bride to me." Lai Gu felt that with his honor supporting him, Lai Gu's confidence had also increased. When his honor speaks, will the woman inside still dare to not listen to him? However, Donghuang Baiji shouted out loudly, "Yihua, didn't you say that there isn't a difference between a superior and a subordinate today?" Did I say that? Yihua looked towards his male subordinate, and the latter shook his head. When did I say that? Hurry up and open the barrier, don't let me find a chance to flip out. Yihua, who was holding onto the megaphone and shouting out the words, was also rather hilarious. If you all have the ability, then come and snatch it from me. Qingya was not to be outdone. Yihua smiled. These two jealous wives of mine, I really have to give it to them. Lai Gu, go. Yihua said gravely. All right. Era, who was sitting at the side, felt that his honor's tone is so strange, it seems like his honor is calling out to me. Lai Gu walked to the side of the barrier, stood in a horse stance and clenched his fists. Lai Gu is going to use force. Zishan cried out in surprise. Li Hun waved his hand and said, Don't worry. Your wife's barrier together with our spiritual energy won't be broken so easily. If you want to marry my Yuhua, you'll have to go through 81 tribulations. Kai Yun gave a tender humph. She was a member of her family, yet when such a day really came, she was still reluctant to part with Yuhua. Although I will be able to see Yuhua very soon, I still feel that Yuhua isn't mine anymore. I really regret introducing Yuhua to Yihua. I thought that Yuhua wouldn't take a fancy to Lai Gu, but I didn't expect that Lai Gu would be so persistent. To a dragon, this is simply unbelievable. Back then, Kai Yun was still thinking that Lai Gu would definitely lose his patience after failing to woo Yuhua for a month. In the end, Lai Gu chased Yuhua for a whole year, completely moving Yuhua's heart. This is truly incomprehensible. Are you a king dragon or not? You are a dog, right? Speaking of which, during the few years that Lai Gu was a dog, he had tempered his patience. According to his past personality, if Lai Gu didn't get any results after a week, he would have said goodbye. There was a loud bang. The entire Nanwol flag trembled violently. Lai Gu, who was outside, ruthlessly smashed his fist onto the barrier, and the position of both of his feet shattered. However, the barrier trembled along with Nanwol flag. Kai Yun, who was inside, immediately shouted out, Lai Gu, if you break my Nanwol flag again, don't even think about marrying Yuhua today. Yuhua, who was sitting on the bed, shouted out in a low voice, Flag Master. Her meaning was very clear, don't make things too difficult for Lai Gu. This caused Kai Yun to become even more gloomy. Right now, I haven't even gotten married yet, and I am already speaking up for my man. All of the women here have men, and they were able to understand the thoughts of the bride. At a time like this, don't disturb me from getting married. I have waited for this day with great difficulty. If it was them, they would definitely be the same as well, and they would also be impatient to get married. Lai Gu, who was outside, was very anxious, and he could only seek help from his honor. My little brother is getting married today, you all are playing too much. What do you all want before you all open the door? Yihua didn't waste any more time, let's not waste any more time. Let's start with a rain of red packets. The laughter of the women inside rang out. Without even thinking, Lai Gu took out his phone and began sending red packets in the group. The women inside the group were also courting death by snatching the red packets. Yihua also silently took out his phone and casually tapped on a few red packets, feeling happy. Afterward, Qingya shouted out loudly, Yihua, you cannot snatch them. Hurry up and send them out. Lai Gu looked at his honor with hidden bitterness. Looking at Lai Gu's expression, Yihua felt helpless. Didn't I just snatch a few red packets? These women are truly stingy. What's wrong with me snatching a few red packets? Without a choice, Yihua sent out a few more red packets, and I even suffered a loss. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have snatched them. After a few waves of red packets rained down, Qingya finally removed the barrier. Yihua waved his hand, snatch. A group of men immediately rushed into the room and even knocked down the door. The men were simply going to kill the gods that they meet. How could the women be able to resist against them? In an instant, the men arrived in front of the bride. Qingya said angrily, "Why did you all let the red packets in so quickly? The red packet rain hasn't even stopped yet." The women were also helpless. These men are too savage. Yihua looked at his female subordinates and snorted, "What? Do you want to block my path too?" Qingya and Donghuang Baiji snorted. At the scene, only the two of them dared to be disrespectful to Yihua. At this time it was Lai Gu's turn to speak. Looking at the four wives on the bed, Lai Gu's heart surged endlessly. "I finally have a wife. Read according to what is written on it, they are all written by your wives." Donghuang Baiji took out a piece of white paper, and on the paper densely packed words were written on it. Lai Gu held onto the paper. "There are a lot of rules here." Looking at Lai Gu who was preparing to take the oath, Yihua said faintly, "What are you standing for? Kneel down." Lai Gu looked at His Honor with a stupefied look. "His Honor, just whose side are you on? You can't be a spy, right?" That's right, His Honor has already spoken. Hurry up and kneel down and read." Kaiyun also wanted to, just that he was too embarrassed to say it out. Since His Honor had already spoken, Kaiyun immediately followed suit. Chapter 733. What else could Lai Gu do? Lai Gu obediently knelt beside the bed, then said, "My dear wives, I Lai Gu hereby swear that in this lifetime, I will only love the four of you. If I were to violate my vow, then let you Hua." Crackbone's skin felt a little numb. Was there a need to be so ruthless? "Hurry up and read it. Don't waste time." Qingya let out a sweet-sounding laughter. These were all written by the women together, and of course, these were also the thoughts of the four brides. Lai Gu made up his mind, "I will just let you Hua kill me, and from then on, I will not be able to have sex anymore." All the men instantly felt a chill in their crotches. How ruthless. Men really can't get married. After marriage they will be completely suppressed by their wives. However, Lai Gu didn't think so, and he wholeheartedly wanted to marry them into his family. Therefore he agreed to countless terms. It was like rubbing the dragon's face on the ground with all his might. After the vows, there were still various kinds of games that Lai Gu played. Lai Gu was also very cooperative, causing his four wives to laugh continuously. This is the atmosphere that a wedding should have. However, one of the games was a little scary. That was to let Lai Gu cover his eyes and kiss his four wives, then guess who the wives were. However, the target of the kiss was not his four wives. Instead he replaced them with Death Mage Yihong, Dofusher and Erha. Everyone held back their laughter when they saw this scene, especially Erha, who stuck out his tongue to breathe. However, Lai Gu still had a bashful look on his face, causing everyone to almost collapse from laughter. The first thing that Lai Gu chose to do was to kiss Death Mage. This caused Sun Fang to cover her small mouth and almost spurt out. Even Death Mage's expression changed as he tightly grabbed onto the bedsheet. "I am going to be kissed by a man, so disgusting." However, Lai Gu was rather unrestrained and he directly kissed Yihua. Everyone could even see that Lai Gu had stretched out his tongue and actually French-kissed Death Mage. Looking at the situation, everyone was no longer able to hold back their laughter and started laughing wildly. Even Yihua was paralyzed from laughing. The four brides on the bed also giggled. As expected of the undead clan, full of gay affection. When Lai Gu heard the laughter beside his ear, coupled with the feeling that it was weird, he took off his blindfold. Looking at Death Mage who was in front of him with a face that was about to collapse. And those eerie white teeth, fuck. I feel like vomiting. Lai Gu had the heart to cry. "You guys are too much of a bully, all of you are joining hands to bully me." This was the funniest scene. The last task was to find the shoes. When other people got married they would look for a pair of shoes, but when Lai Gu got married he would look for 4 pairs, 8 pairs. Yihua didn't hold back. "Listen up, lift up their skirts. It must be hidden under the skirt." Yes. The male subordinates immediately looked at their wives. The room was immediately thrown into chaos. Yihua immediately hugged onto Qingya and Donghuang Baiji, then said in a low voice, "The two of you are not being honest today." Qingya and Donghuang Baiji said, "Who told you not to coax us?" Alright, I'll coax you tonight." "Pervert, quickly tell me where the shoes are." Yihua said with a smile. "Go look for it yourself." Don't force me to lift up my skirt. Yi Hua threatened. Then go ahead and open it. Let's see if there are any. Yi Hua felt that it was definitely not on them. Immediately, he looked towards his sister-in-law, and the latter was immediately startled. So, it turns out that it was on Yu Tong's body. After letting go of his two wives, Yi Hua immediately grabbed onto his sister-in-law. Brother-in-law, what are you doing? What do you think I am doing? Quickly hand it over. Don't. Qin Yu Tong snorted, indicating that her brother-in-law didn't like her anymore. Yi Hua said in a low voice, tell me where the shoes are, I will come over and accompany you tonight. Really? Qin Yu Tong was delighted. Of course, when have I ever lied to you? Qin Yu Tong immediately told Yi Hua where all of the shoes were hidden. Fortunately, Yi Hua had a little secret agent, if not, it would be really hard to find the shoes. Donghuang Baiji, who was standing not far away, said in a low voice, Qinye, why do I feel that those two fellows are doing something ambiguous behind our backs? I have the same feeling too. Qinye nodded her head. They couldn't have already done it, right? That's why they are hiding it from us? Donghuang Baiji cried out in surprise. However, there wasn't any anger on her face. I don't know. Qinye and Donghuang Baiji were both puzzled, just that they didn't have any evidence to prove it. With Qin Yutong's help, the shoes were instantly found. Lai Gu was finally able to bring his 4 wives out. He was so happy. Everyone excitedly changed their destination and arrived at Voidless Realm. After everyone left, only Tsang Konghong was left in South Wuxia. Just now, he heard the laughter from the other side and his heart felt very gloomy. But today I, Tsang Konghong, am going to be a man and take back my love. After returning to Voidless Realm, immediately gongs and drums could be heard, and there were even firecrackers being set off. Since the wedding was going to be held in Voidless Realm, other than his subordinates, all of Voidless Realm's residents would also be attending the wedding. The wedding was going to be held in Voidless Realm, and the wedding was going to be held in a rather grand manner. There were a few hundred tables. The ones who were sitting at the very front were naturally Qin Ye's subordinates. As the host of the wedding, Yi Hua was already standing on the stage with a happy smile on his face. It is very rare to see Yi Hua smile for so long. Qin Ye said tenderly. Donghuang Baiji was also moved. That's right, this fellow looks cold, but in actuality, his heart is very warm. This is what it means to be cold on the outside but warm on the inside, right? Qin Ye said tenderly. While looking at her man with her beautiful eyes, her heart was filled with happiness. Yi Hua, who was standing on the stage, looked at his subordinates and felt gratified in his heart. Right now, all of them were in pairs, living happily with each other. Compared to the way they fought and killed each other in the past, they were like two different people. As the boss of the team, Yi Hua also sighed incomparably. Slowly picking up the microphone, Yi Hua said with an incomparably joyful voice, I am very happy to be able to stand here and host this wedding for Lai Gu. After finished speaking, Yi Hua even held on to Lai Gu, looking like a good brother. This caused Lai Gu to feel a bit overwhelmed by the favor. I remember that last time I was hosting Yi Hong and Zishan's wedding. In the blink of an eye, 2 years have passed. Time flies, cherish the loved ones by your side. Let's not talk any more nonsense, let's welcome today's 4 brides. The wedding march immediately rang out. The 4 brides had changed into pure white wedding gowns and were slowly walking over with white scarves. The ones who were scattering flowers at the front were naturally the 4 little fellows. Back then, when Yi Hong and Zishan got married, Ali was also scattering flowers. Today it wasn't just Ali, Yi Yen, God Yi and Yi Lu were all present. Adorable children and beautiful brides, it was simply a perfect scene. Looking at his 4 wives who were leisurely walking over, Lai Gu felt very excited in his heart, to the point where he even had the feeling of wanting to cry. In my entire life, I have experienced many big and small battles with his honor. Every single day I am walking on a tightrope and I might fall at any moment. At that time I can only vent. Chapter 734. Lai Gu knew that dragons always gave people a bad impression, but Yu Hua still chose to believe in him. I will not disappoint Yu Hua and my 3 wives. I will treat them well, love them well, protect them well, otherwise they will be sad. As the 4 brides walked to the front of the stage, Yi Hua picked up the microphone and said with a smile, Lai Gu, do you know what you did wrong? Everyone present was stupefied. His honor changed his attitude too quickly, right? Lai Gu came to a realization and shook his head. Yi Hua said gravely, as your leader, I, the Supreme Overlord, only have 2 wives. You actually married 4 wives at once. Aren't you stealing my limelight? Everyone, Zishan laughed. His honor has become much more daring recently, he is no longer afraid of your wife. Yi Hong pouted her mouth. His honor is a real man unlike me, I get abused by Zishan every single day. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji were helpless after hearing what Yi Hua said. Qingya shouted out, if you think that you don't have enough wives, go and find more. That's right, do you want me to introduce a few beauties to you? Donghuang Baiji said. This caused everyone to burst into laughter. The relationship between his honor and your wife sure is good, and they are also very down to earth, not giving off a feeling of being high and mighty. When have I, the Supreme Overlord, ever been a coward? Baiji, you are the one who said it, I still want 3 more. Yi Hua joked. No matter what, I still want more than my subordinates, right? Donghuang Baiji's expression remained unchanged. 3, that's too little. How about 30, I will let you flip the cards tonight. Yi Hua laughed out loud. Qingya, did you hear that? Hurry up and take action now. Blood Demon, take a picture of this for me, these are all evidence. Qingya and Donghuang Baiji snorted. He is even going to go on a high level, he still wants to have 30 wives, pig trotter. Everyone was very surprised that his honor was able to make such a joke. At the same time, they also discovered another side of his honor, it was very interesting. Especially the newly joined South Wuxia and the others, they finally understood his honor a little. Let's put aside my harem plans for now, the main character today is not me. What his honor said caused everyone who was seated to laugh out. So, his honor can actually be this amusing? I'm afraid that I have to go back and kneel on the keyboard tonight. Yi Hua gradually became serious and said to the 4 brides, Lai Gu has followed me for over 1,000 years, and he has done his best to help me. Lai Gu has been hovering on the edge of death. There is no perfect person, Lai Gu has his flaws and I naturally have my flaws as well. However, since the 4 of you have chosen each other, you have to advance and retreat together. Lai Gu, do you have anything to say to them? Yi Hua passed the microphone over. Lai Gu took over the microphone and he seemed to be very nervous, even his hands were trembling. This was the first time Lai Gu's subordinates saw Lai Gu in such a state. Usually, Lai Gu was very carefree, and they didn't expect that he would be so nervous at this moment. What a naive dragon. The 4 wives standing in front of him were also smiling, looking at their adorable husbands. Lai Gu suddenly laughed, I'm sorry, I was too nervous and almost peed my pants. Haha. Everyone immediately burst into laughter and even Yi Hua laughed. Lai Gu was also using this kind of method to relieve the nervousness in his heart. Taking a deep breath, Lai Gu said seriously, My personality is indeed not that good, but you all know that I am also changing. I will use the rest of my life to properly cherish all of you, and be a good husband, a good father. Everyone immediately applauded, and the applause of over 1,000 people resounded throughout the entire voidless realm. Yi Hua passed the microphone over to Lai Gu's wife, Still Ran. Right now, Still Ran was very excited and nervous. Recalling back to the first time she met Lai Gu, she was simply terrified. At that time, Lai Gu was still a dog, however, what she didn't expect was that Lai Gu was actually not a dog but a dragon. At first, she was trembling under the tyranny of this dragon, and she even dragged her 2 good sisters along with her. However, because of such a coincidence, she slowly fell in love with this dragon. It was very dramatic. With a light smile on her face, she said tenderly, Lai Gu, I am honored that you dragged me away that day. This sentence was only known to Lai Gu and Still Ran and of course Yi Hua as well. There was no need to say anything. What followed next was Wen Xia and Bai Xiaozhen's heartfelt words. Lai Gu was extremely touched and he was actually moved to tears. The 4 wives were also infected by Lai Gu, and tears of happiness flowed down from their eyes. Yi Hua smiled, Look, Lai Gu is actually moved to tears, everyone let's give him a round of applause. At this moment, it was Yu Hua's turn. Yu Hua was also Lai Gu's most favorite woman, and it could be said that she was his first love. Everyone in the team knew that Lai Gu spent an entire year chasing after Yu Hua, and they were all very impressed by him. If there is a man who is able to chase after a woman for an entire year, then hurry up and accept him. Yu Hua said lightly, Lai Gu, thank you for accompanying me for an entire year, allowing me to experience a different feeling. Actually, I didn't like you in the beginning, but as I got to know you more, I found out that you are very considerate, very concerned about me and always think for me. Thank you for treating me so well. Right after Yu Hua finished speaking, Yi Hua teased, Bride, you wouldn't be giving me a good person card right now, right? Everyone immediately burst into laughter. His honor is too funny. Yuehua was also very helpless. His honor is truly mischievous. However, Yihua's words frightened Lai Gu. He actually really thought that Yuehua would give him a good person card. However, Yuehua said tenderly, Lai Gu, I love you. The audience was silent for a second. In an instant, the entire voidless realm burst into an uproar. Everyone stood up and cheered, and all kinds of whistles could be heard. The entire voidless realm sank into a sea of joy. As the person involved, Lai Gu had already used his sleeves to wipe his tears. 1 year. He chased after Yuehua for a year. Today he finally heard Yuehua say that she loved him. It was not easy. Yuehua was also very happy. It is my happiness that my subordinates are happy. This time Lai Gu is truly not having it easy. Look at this supreme overlord. When have I ever pursued Qingya and Donghuang Baiji? It was the two of them who sent themselves to my doorstep, and this supreme overlord reluctantly accepted them. Thinking up to here, Yihua secretly took a look at his 2 wives, and the 2 wives looked towards their husbands with a gaze filled with hidden bitterness. The meaning was clear. You never pursued us, yet we gave birth to 2 children for you. You big liar. Yihua hurriedly took the microphone and changed the topic. Everyone quiet down for a bit, it is time to get to the main topic. Following Yihua's voice, everyone became silent. This is the might that comes from a supreme overlord. It can expand and contract freely. Lai Gu, are you willing to marry them? Just when Lai Gu was about to say that he was willing, Yihua interrupted him. Wait a moment, I have forgotten a procedure. Lai Gu, Your Honor, stop playing around, just let me marry my wives in peace. Yihua looked towards everyone and asked, Is there anyone who objects? You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.